Good evening, happy Friday, and welcome to Last Call, where the whiskey flows and the fandom grows. And wow, what a week. It's nice to have a day off, but the downside is you have to make up for it the other 4. So after a nice long weekend, a brutal short week. I think I earned this drink tonight. And I'm really looking forward to our special guest behind the bar tonight, Megan Lee of the Noob Reviews. This young lady is recently coming to the comic community, and she's consuming the classics with the eagerness and purity of youth. It has been just a joy to follow her journey with nostalgia and vicariously reliving my own love of those titles. She's just passed 500 subs, and she's accelerating towards the coveted 1,000. So now all of you, be on your best behavior tonight, but by all means, top off your glasses and strap in. Here we go. Yeah, Boomer. Brutal week.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about it. Pour one out for the Queen, Long live the King. Anyway, how you doing, Boomer?
Good.
What you sipping on?
I have a Canada Dry Ginger Ale, which, well, it's not British, but it's close, right? I mean, it's Canada.
Canada. It's part of the. Okay. It's part of the empire, I suppose. Yeah, I just had a ginger beer before the stream.
I was making a joke with Al, like we were talking about the Queen passing away, and we was like, yeah, we're watching Robin of Sherwood, which is kind of an anti-royalty series. Because we were watching that earlier tonight.
Yeah. So you didn't ask what I was sipping on. That's becoming the thing. The host always says you didn't ask what I was sipping on. That seems to be the lead into.
What are you sipping on?
I am sipping. Well, I got a new little clip that I am not too happy with, but I'll play it anyway.
Fireball.
That's great. So you take a tennis ball, a bowl, and lighter.
Fireball. And fireball.
Hey guys, how about we settle this over a friendly game of fireball? Ultimate fireball.
I like
Fireball whiskey. Yep.
That's the hot stuff, isn't it?
It's a bit, yeah. It makes you feel warm, and this is right on the heels of that ginger beer I was talking about. Yeah, I had a taste for it.
Cold up there in Chicago right now?
No, not really. I just had a taste for it. I went out in the garage the other day, came back in, and I said to Netter, it smells like Fireball out there. She said, "Oh yeah, that's because the smell keeps away ants and whatnot. And by the way, us non-alcoholics, we just call that cinnamon." She had put down cinnamon to keep the ants away or whatever. But anyway, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, normally, I had a whole different plan for tonight. I figured we were going to have some time. I'd say hi to the chat. I'll say hi to the chat in a little bit, but I really don't like to keep my guest waiting. I thought she was going to be running late, but boy, she's Johnny on the spot tonight, so let's get her in here. Megan Lee of the Noob Review, how you doing? Busy girl.
Hi.
What you sipping on?
Literally, I have coffee. I'm finishing up.
Nothing wrong with
coffee.
that. You totally could Irish that up if you so choose, but don't feel any obligation.
I cannot mix alcohol and coffee. This is not a good mix for me.
Well, what happened?
Even like Bailey's Irish Cream or something like that?
Oh, I'm lactose intolerant, so that's not a good idea.
Oh, there's no dairy in
I
don't
sure?
think there's any dairy in
I'm pretty
Irish
sure there is.
Cream, is there?
It says cream in it.
Well, they call it cream. I'm not sure that they actually use real
right,
cream.
that it's not actually cream.
Is there actually cream? Really? It doesn't curdle or anything.
I think the alcohol keeps it from curdling.
I thought that's what would cause it to curdle. Well, that just shows what I know. I just know it tastes yummy and it makes me feel all warm. But no, coffee's perfectly fine too. There's nothing wrong with that. You can just laugh at me as I get further into my Fireball.
I like Fireball. I drink that sometimes.
I see, and this is the other thing.
With a cold, you just take a shot. It's good.
It's medicinal. It's medicinal,
Yes.
right?
Like actually, for real. That's what I do.
I mean, I mean,
don't drink very often, but like I will take a shot of whiskey if I feel I'm getting a cold.
And do you go with the Canadian whiskey? Just have to ask.
No.
Oh, okay.
Fireball.
Well, okay, yeah,
I like
Fireball.
cinnamon.
You do like the cinnamon, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can infuse cinnamon into your favorite whiskey yourself, and it'll actually probably be a lot better. I mean, they have recipes online and whatnot, but
That sounds like a lot of work.
you know what? Good stuff generally is. It's worth the effort. You know, I've come to realize that some things, if you're not willing to put in the effort, it's probably not worth the thing at all. You know, so just. I tend to be kind of a little bit of a snob about everything, foods, drinks.
So you're
you know.
bougie.
I've never thought of it that way, but I like to think so. I'd like to be described as bougie.
Bourgeoisie, is that what that's short for?
I think so,
Exactly. It's a colloquialism for the bourgeoisie.
You're that way with action figures, I know that.
Snooty. Yeah, I don't know. See, it's funny because I was just having a conversation with somebody on the interwebs about action figures, and I was talking. Somebody commented on one of my my Mego videos and saying how much they love Mego action figures, and I'm like, they're in my opinion, they're comparable to NECA figures, but they are half the price. And I think they're better figures, to be honest with you. I know that's a hot take. I know there's NECA fans that literally come at me in the comment section about that. But you know what? Don't care. When you buy a $35 figure, right, and you take it out of the package, and literally as you try to bend the knee, it snaps, that's bull. But you never have that problem with Mego. And if you do, you just contact Dr. Mego and he'll send you a replacement figure or, you know, whatever. It's never a problem. Anyway. But, yes, let me real quick say hi to the chat. To my number one, she is the first in the chat, first in my life, Netter of Netter's Network. She says, Troy Pacelli, love of my life, first. Aww. Yes, you are first.
Love you.
I love you too, sweetie.
We're literally sitting 5 feet apart.
She's just right over there. And she's also my blue wrench. So she's the bouncer. She's the one who'll throw you out if you're not nice. You be nice to this lady right here, otherwise the bouncer will throw you out. Big Al presents. He says, "Drink up." Yeah, because he knows how funny I get the more I drink. Phil, TMNT. Good to see you, Phil. I know you're here for Megan. That's fine. I'm still glad you're here. Hope you like and subscribe. And my other beloved Blue Wrench, Deleted Scenes, he's already dropping all the links for everybody that he sees. So make sure you subscribe to, just do a right click on any link that Deleted Scenes puts up and subscribe. You'll thank him later, trust me. David Pensack. Always faithful. Good to see you, my friend. Let's see. And they're all saying hi to each other. Please subscribe to special guest bartender, the Noob Reviews, Megan Lee. Her link is, of course, attached along with all the other people behind the scenes tonight down in the description below. Deleted Scenes has become such a regular. I should really find a place for him in the bar and add him to the regular comments below.
Hi, Heron.
Heron of Alexandria. Yep.
That's a nice title. Like that.
Yep. See, I noticed that. I got 11 watchers. I'm like, oh, this is just everybody coming to follow the pretty girl. That's the only reason they're here tonight, not for me. But I'm still glad to have you here. Hope you enjoy the show and want to stick around. Paul, good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Blast from the Past. Oh gosh! So you were over on Blast from the Past reviews, and I've been following him on the Twitters. Dude, make sure I sent you a message. Make sure you add your YouTube link to your Twitter bio. It's a good synergy. This way people don't have to look for you when they want to subscribe to you. Great channel. I gotta ask if he'd be willing to come on my stream. Maybe in October or around the holidays. I think we got a lot in common, your channel and mine. I think we both tend to like some of the same pop cultural things. I will try, Megan, not to and I'm sure you probably get that. You get it from Pops, you get it from the other channels you're on, just throwing things at you. Oh, check this out, check this out, check this out. I will try to rein that in. I will try and flip that script and just we'll focus on what you have been reading and watching and consuming, and we'll kind of go from there.
Talk to her about her channel too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the whole point of having you on. Regular faithful Matanui, thanks for being here. Always a pleasure. We'll chat in a bit. Watching Superman Doomsday.
That's a good one.
You know what? It's another one of those DC animated that I have on DVD and haven't watched yet. I got a lot of those Disney animated DVDs as door prizes when I went to the various
you mean DC
Superman
animated
celebrations.
DC animated.
What did I say?
You said Disney animated.
Jeez.
It's okay.
I blame the fireball. yeah. Fireball. It's another one of those DC animated features that I got them as door prizes in Metropolis, Illinois, when I'd go to the Superman celebration. And I've got a ton of them that I haven't even watched yet. But over on Mr. Matchstick's channel, we've been doing those commentaries and watches of those animated features. So it's like he'll say, watch these next 3 movies so you have time to get them. I'm like, already got them. I just got to watch the things.
Do you know who plays the voice of Superman in that one?
No, I do not.
It's Adam Baldwin. Guess who plays the voice of Lois Lane?
Don't know.
Anne Heche. And
really?
Yes. And James Marsters, Spike from Buffy, he plays Lex Luthor in that.
He's awesome. He is really awesome. I know Netter's a big fan of his. She's got his album and everything. What is it, Ghost in the Machine or Ghost Out of the Machine or something like that?
I think it's Ghost in the Machine.
Ghost in the Machine, yeah. He was in a band and everything.
2 or 3 of their DVD or their CDs.
CDs, yeah. Let's see. Are we almost caught up? Man, I've been falling behind, guys. Sorry. Let me just real quick. Free Speech Gaming. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. And yeah, a lot of new names here because of Megan. Thank you so much, Megan. That was really why I brought you on, because I wanted to mooch some of your followers. No. I mean, it's true. I mean, let's be honest, right?
What happens when you have different people? It just happens.
It really, I'll tell you, this is what's great about hitting that 500. By the way, congratulations,
Thank
500.
you.
That means you can, I don't know if you have to actively do anything, but you could bring up the community tab
I
on
was
your
wondering
YouTube.
when that happened, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
500.
I haven't seen it pop up, so I don't know.
It doesn't probably. It's probably like the other things. You actually have to go into your settings and bring it up.
Okay.
You wanna mess around with that a little bit, because then you can like do playlists, which is a nice way for your followers to go, well, I'm really interested in this topic, and go and see the playlist and stuff like that.
And I have some people that are subscribed to me, but they don't have Twitter or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so they only have whatever YouTube, if YouTube tells them, oh, Megan posted something, which YouTube doesn't. Sometimes that is off. So.
Yeah, Daniel's having some connectivity problems. I was having the same problem earlier today trying to watch Viva Fry on Rumble today. It was just kill. It turned out to be my internet. Cut out on me for a little bit, but yeah.
I like Viva Fry. He's good.
Oh, see, this is one of the cool things about social media, right? We tend to, like a lot of the same things. I
haven't listened to his new stuff. I was following him a lot during the trucker.
During the trucker thing, sure. I was actually following him a bit before that, it was okay. Okay, so let's talk Canadian. Let's talk Canadian YouTubers, right? Viva Fry, David Freiheit, a Canadian litigator turned YouTuber who has like yourself, Megan, is a refugee from behind the maple curtain, because of for a very different reason. You probably had a more positive reason for coming here.
Yes.
He
glad I'm here. I came here much before all that, but
yeah, he was a little bit in denial, and he finally realized he just couldn't deny it anymore. He's like, I got to get out of here. I can't live in Canadistan anymore. So, but he, I started following him because of one video he did that was a response to a Legal Eagle video, breaking down a scene from Captain Marvel.
okay.
You probably know the scene. It's the one where she comes to Earth or whatever, and she's approached by a biker dude, and tells her to smile or whatever, and she crushes his hand and steals his bike. And it's meant to be a parody of the Terminator scene where I need your clothes and your motorcycle or whatever, but forgetting that the Terminator was the villain. And she is supposed to be heroic. And however creepy you might think the guy is, when you got that level of power, crushing his hand and stealing from him is not justified, And
I imagine he made his career as like a concert pianist, right? And then he...
Well, yeah, right, exactly.
Or Spurgeon or something, right? It's like...
yeah, but regardless, it does, and see, I could see breaking down a scene like that in terms of legalities, right? Because it's interesting. In a world with superheroes with superpowers, I mean, you think about things like, what is it? The Incredibles, suing a superhero for the collateral damage, or suing a superhero for being injured while being rescued. And there are legal precepts that would cover that, Good Samaritan laws and so on and so forth. And, I was trying to commit suicide and you took away my right to choose and whatever, things like that. And comic books have dealt with those kinds of issues in very interesting ways. There's that famous Superman and the girl on the ledge, where she actually says, you don't have any right to stop me. He goes, I'm not going to try to stop you, and he literally, it's just good classic Superman. He just talks to her. He could prevent her from ending herself, but he doesn't. He just talks to her. You don't need special powers for that. He happens to be floating there in space, and he uses his heat vision to stop the spotlights that are on her. But that's not what ends up saving her. It's just listening to her. And yeah, it does help that he knows some things that only Superman could know, that shed some light on her circumstance. But it just comes down to the basic: don't make a permanent choice here. You don't know all the facts. Things aren't as bad as they look. And that's just a great story. But I'm getting sidetracked. Superman tends to do that to me. I tend to get sidetracked by Superman. But this idea of suing a superhero and what laws they, can, that famously the Adam West Batman played with that all the time. Well, I'm a duly deputized representative of the law, and he's working with the police department, which is very different from what you see in the comics. But it certainly is. I got to do everything by the book.
Didn't the Riddler trick him one episode and got him to sue him or something because he made it look like he was committing crime, but he really wasn't, and so Batman got it. I think that was a thing that the Riddler tried on him once.
Well, and there was a great one in Lois and Clark where the cop goes to Superman to arrest him, and he's like, "Look, Superman, I know you. If you wanted to, there's nothing that I could do, but I need to put you under arrest. And he just goes with them. He's like, okay. I
Well, he's a
submit
law-abiding
because
citizen.
it's
Yes.
the law. Yeah, exactly. And he goes to court and defends himself. And it was a case very similar to what we're talking about, where he had to defend his actions as a superhero and the secret identity thing and all that kind of stuff. Very interesting. But yeah, Legal Eagle had a ridiculous leftist, stupid, take on it. And Vivo was like, you're kind of showing your bias here, dude. And he starts breaking it down. And I was like, I said, I will never watch another Legal Eagle video. And I started subscribing to Viva Fry ever since then. And, yeah, then, we started getting into the trucker convoy and all that, and he was doing the Viva on the streets and all that kind of stuff. Took up with Robert Barnes, and Robert Barnes is also a big into the geek community and stuff, so he's like, he will constantly reference like Doomcock and Gary from Nerdrotic and all that, and he's talked about, I don't know if he's actually been on Friday Night Tights or if he has talked about wanting to and stuff like that. So yeah, I love how that kind of stuff kind of crosses over, right?
I listened to Legal Eagle once, and even then I could tell he was an idiot and turned it off after 2 minutes.
This is why I love this woman. She is so awesome. She and I, simpatico. Really, really.
After 30 years, we better be.
Yeah. Well, we weren't when we got married. We are now, right? Exactly. You hear about people talking about, well, we just grew apart and that's why we got divorced. And I said to her, I'm like, look, I suggest if we're going to get married, we plan on actively growing together, not apart. So, real quick, I have a couple more real highs to hello, Daniel. Good to see you. Where Deadpool talked a girl down from. Yeah. It's got kind of become a common theme, and I'm kind of glad of it. And Skipper Kenner, I'm here. Okay, I'm only halfway through my first Fireball, so it hasn't gotten interesting yet, but you know what? Megan Lee is here, and she will keep it interesting. So, Megan, I want to go back to what I was saying about being married and growing together. Mm-hmm. Let's start with how you have talked about how Mr. Noob shares your interest in the genre, and you have that in common. That's my little segue. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Give us the 1,000-foot overview. Tell us how you came to the fandom, how you started your channel. Tell us a little bit about your Tell us about you.
Oh boy. Okay. Well,
I mean, that is the point of the night, really.
Mr. Noob, he really only got into it because when I told him I was starting a channel and I was going to do comic book reviews, he was like, "Okay, nerd, whatever." And then, so I brought home some comic books, and actually, I made him go to the comic book store with me, and he was like,
"Made him?
Okay.
You made him go to the comic
made him." And he just thought I was like the nerdiest thing in the world.
Now, was this after you were married?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, because I only started this channel a few months ago. Like I didn't start getting into nerd stuff until like this year. I was never into this kind of stuff because I didn't grow up with it.
Right. You had said I've been watching your channel. I know this stuff. I'm really just asking you to share it with the audience.
So I took him to the comic book shop, and he's like looking at these comics, and he's going, "Oh, I used to watch this TV show and this and I was like, "Yeah, what did you think it was?" Like, I don't know.
Right.
So he actually had more of a connection to it than I did because of his childhood. He grew up watching TV and movies, and I didn't.
Yeah.
He never actually read comic books, but a lot of the TV shows he watched were based on comic books. Right. So then he got all excited, and he now he is into like collecting, but he's like into like the collecting side, and he will like look at the ratings.
Deleted Scenes is saying what a lot of people are thinking. I know.
Sorry. I'm always like, as soon as people find out I'm married, I'm gonna lose subscribers. They know it. Anyway.
Well, they're
No, people. The stands will stand. They always will.
No, they're there for your content, though. They like your.
I was gonna say though, there was a topic that came up towards the end of your last live stream that I was like, nix, because you'll lose the enthusiasts, the specific wiki enthusiasts that are hoping that someday they catch a glimpse of something, you know. I'm not even going to say what. People are going to have to go over and watch the other stream. Okay. Yeah. I make it sound a little bit more spicy than it really was.
You did. Now I'm thinking back, like, what did I talk about? What came up? I don't know. I have no idea what he's talking about, guys.
He was talking about how he would sooner be on a certain wiki than do, and you were talking about how gross that was.
Okay. Oh,
she's remembering now. Okay. Yeah, it's yeah. A topic that Big Al has talked about from time to time, and because he's a bit of an enthusiast, I understand. So
weird.
Anyway. It is a little weird, but look. I'm sitting there and I'm going. I'm not like that, but I kind of understand. It's that whole. It's like shoulders. It's like, you know. It's like hair. It's not something sexual, but it's sexy. You know, it's something you can focus on that isn't the naughty bits, so to speak. You know, I mean, and let's just say Twitter friendly or Facebook friendly. You know, no one's gonna say that's inappropriate, but you're looking at it as inappropriate. You know, and there's a whole industry around it because it's a way to bilk money from weird internet stands and you're not really doing anything.
Is this like an Ally McBeal when Richard Fish was into women that had goiters? That was a thing. No. And then I
suppose.
And then Janet Reno showed up one episode and he was wanting to touch her, even though it wasn't the real Janet Reno. It was someone made up to look like her. It was just anyway.
There was one. I was just thinking, was it Family Guy where the Takanawa was doing an interview with somebody who this guy is married to this woman who has a brain tumor, and it just so happens to be his thing. He's got a fetish for. Yeah, no. This is Family Guy. You got to expect that kind of craziness.
It's going to be extra. Okay.
Yeah, I've totally gotten off on a tangent.
Well, can I ask a question to our guests?
Please do.
May I ask a question to our
Shut me up, please.
No, I'm not trying to shut. I just want to.
No. You should. You truly should. That's why you're my designated driver.
What drew you to comics to begin with? What made you want to step into that comic book store?
Back on track.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about. Like, did you just wake up one day and say, I want to get into comics, or was it a gradual process? That's what I'm asking.
I guess it was more gradual. Like, I grew up reading. So, I love books. Some of these are mine, some of these are my husband's. We love books. And I read a lot growing up. I was homeschooled. So, we didn't have a TV. We read books.
Okay.
So I actually read some comic books when I was a kid, and they were at the library, and it was Asterix and Obelix and the Adventures of Tintin.
Oh.
And those were the only comic books. That was like my first introduction to comic books. And it's funny that it never occurred to me that there was anything outside of that comic book wise, but probably because I had no interaction with pop culture whatsoever, basically. Right? Huh. So, it wasn't until high school I went to public school that I became aware of nerds and geeks and whatnot. And I thought it was kind of interesting, but I didn't ask. I didn't ask questions. I was super shy. And then by the time I was in college, I was like more interested in it, but I thought, I'm too old for this now. And then I kind of forgot about all of that until the coof hit, and I was bored, and I was on YouTube, and I came across all these YouTube channels. I came across Gary and Nerdrotics and Geeks and Gamers and stuff. I was like, look at all these people doing this. This is fun. I want to do a YouTube channel. What am I going to do? So yeah, I decided on comic books because I like reading. It seemed like a natural progression.
What I think is interesting, at least based on what you're saying with your premise, it sounds like a lot of times YouTube channels there might be based on expertise, but your channel seems more based on discovering new things and discovering these things for the first time, which I think is interesting.
That is what it is because I don't know, everything is new to me. Most movies, TV shows, yeah.
Well, it's new to all of us one time, right?
And as I said in my, and I don't know if you caught my my monologue at the beginning, but
A little bit, yes.
yeah, I was basically getting at how cool it is that you are going through the older comics that are brand new to you, but they were the ones that I literally grew up with. So I got this all nostalgic, opportunity to relive those comics through the new eyes. And I should probably say if at any time, I don't intend any offense, but to me, you are so much younger, and I think that is the most wonderful thing. You're a grown, married woman, but you're young enough to be my daughter. So I imagine if I had a daughter, I'd love for her to have been just like you,
Aww.
So when I see this, I'm like, oh, and so many times I'll watch a video and I will start to type and then not, because I'll be like, oh, if you love this, you would love this, and you should check this out. And I'm like, I know you are just barraged with that kind of stuff all the time. It's like, you know what? No, let's let her enjoy, see what she's enjoying, and just kind of take it in, and that's what I've really loved about your channel is being able to do that. There are times, and I've made a couple comments on some of your videos where you will make an observation about a, Silver Age Superman story or something like that, and you'll pose a rhetorical question, and I'll be like, I could totally answer that, but she's going to get it from a whole bunch of other people, and she'll discover it herself as she reads through. Let it be, Yeah, what you're seeing when you read some of those Silver Age Superman stories, some real weird ass shit. Some real weird stories.
Is that Mr. Mixo-Spitlick, that era?
Yes, but not just that. I mean, the dynamic between him and Lois, and they both tend to be, in certain stories, they both tend to be kind of assholes to each other. It's like, very different dynamic between men and women in fiction back then. And it's like one of those perfect examples of, it is of its time, enjoy it that way. And I see you doing that. I see you enjoying it in the spirit it was intended back in the 60s, 70s, early 80s, whatever, without the judgmentalness of the modern fourth wave feminist, which is incredibly
it's funny because
refreshing.
when I read it, I'm like, oh, the feminists would hate this part.
Right? Which makes it all the much cooler in a lot of ways, right? Yeah. In fact, do you follow a YouTuber? She's much bigger than us. She's, but she's Canadian too. Sasha from Casually Comics.
No, I don't follow her. I think I've heard of her.
You should check out Casually Comics. Just, make a note for yourself. I'm going to not do that a lot tonight, but for you specifically, because she is Canadian, she is a young lady like yourself, married. Actually, you got a lot in common with her, and she's doing the same thing. She's going back and looking at older comics. She's a lot more experienced than any of us, really. She really knows her stuff, but she doesn't know the older stuff as well, and she's going through that same journey you are. But she totally gets it, historically speaking. So she'll drop in her community tab, like a bizarre cover, and she'll be like, "Yep, this is coming up," and it'll be like, the Fat Flash or something like that, and it's like, these. Oh,
I want to
the
read
60s,
that now.
The 60s, the 60s and the 70s had these what we would now call clickbait covers.
Yeah.
I mean, not that there was a concept of click because it wasn't the internet, it was comics, but you'd see this cover and you'd be like, the heck is that all about? And you'd pick it up and the story maybe didn't have really anything to do with that, but you saw why they did it. Or it was like, nope, that was spot on. They said it and then they delivered, I mean, maybe not what you really expected. There was one that she just recently went over where Superman pits Jimmy Olsen and Aquaman in a literal fight to the death. They're in competition and one of them's going to die. And it's like, what the heck is this story? When would this ever happen? And sure enough, the story kind of delivers on it. It's like, he lets Aquaman die. Spoiler. I mean, it's like, yeah, the 60s and the 70s was a weird time for comic books, which you're kind of starting to see.
You were saying you saw a Superman cover? Is that right? A weird Superman cover? Noob?
There is a Superman, and he's like, I haven't read it yet. It's the next one I'm coming up in the annual I'm going through, and he's like, Lois Lane is like fat, and the Lois Lane
I know that one.
Like now, back then she'd be considered fat, but nowadays she'd just be considered curvy. I was like,
yeah, she
It's
plus
just-
size.
it just made me laugh. Because I was like, nobody in a comic book would ever call anybody fat nowadays. Like, you just know, especially.
No, yeah, it was, and what was funny about those is they were good offensive fun. They really were, and they were one-offs. It was like, I guess technically this is canon, but you could totally ignore it. It exists on its own. That one title. It doesn't have anything to do with some overarching storyline. You could take it or leave it, whatever. But yes, curvy, which in and of itself isn't a bad thing. But so have you gotten to the one where Superman has to? I can't remember now if it was a Superman title or if it was a Lois Lane title, where she uses a Kryptonian machine or something to turn herself into a black woman. That reaction was exactly what I was expecting. So no, you haven't.
I've not
Meta
even heard
remembers
of
it.
that.
I do too.
Oh,
it was
boy.
a little bit WTF even at the time. It was like, okay. And it was one of those social commentary stories where Lois is going to try and do a story from the perspective of a black person, and it actually was kind of poignant, but it was as ham-fisted as you would expect it to have been back in the early 70s.
It's like the Eddie Murphy SNL routine where he gets disguised as a white guy. Remember that? That was
Kind of.
That was done for laughs.
That was brilliant. Oh, and the makeup job on Eddie Murphy. I'm looking at that going, that's Eddie Murphy?
Yes.
It's like, he really does look like a white guy. This, when you hear about someone doing blackface, you're like, you expect this ridiculous Al Jolson, but when Eddie Murphy does whiteface, it's like,
He looks like
a white guy. I wouldn't have known that was Eddie Murphy.
he looked like an old Jewish man.
He looked like an old Jewish. Yeah. A Jewish guy might get a little offended because it's very stereotypical, but See, that's the thing about these classic Saturday Night Lives. I'm not sure that's out there and available, so it's not like I don't know if I could even recommend it to Megan to go and find it on the YouTubes or anything.
Sometimes
like
they put the clips on YouTube SNL, the old clips of even the old stuff.
I mean, that's a classic one. So I think from the context, you're kind of getting what we're talking about. Eddie Murphy does this experiment where he has someone make him up to be a white guy, and then he goes out and it's like a man on the street type thing where you follow him. You got to kind of suspend your disbelief. You got to pretend that nobody that's following him sees the camera that's, following him. But, it's kind of over the top ridiculous because he'll go someplace and people will go, "Oh, you're a white guy. You get the special treatment," and it's, that silliness that, people joke about, and this was before the concept of white privilege, right? So it was just a joke, It's Saturday Night Live. Back when Saturday Night Live was funny. I know that was before your time, Megan. No offense. But I don't think you're old enough to remember when Saturday Night Live was actually funny. So
I'm trying to think what a comic book equivalent to SNL would be. Would that be Mad Magazine, maybe?
Which was a DC title, by the way.
Okay.
Mad
I don't know if
Magazine.
you've ever read Mad Magazine. Okay, all right.
If you do, make sure it's... it's hard for me to recommend Mad Magazine because nothing in the past decade or so is funny. It's gone so woke. It's not. Right. It's cringe. It's not even funny. But if you go back to the 70s and 80s on Mad Magazine... The 80s
were great. I remember in the 80s, yeah.
Well, it was great if you were living in the 70s and 80s. It's kind of like Monty Python. Monty Python is particularly funny if you lived in the 70s and you were British, because there's a lot of 70s British political humor that Americans are like, I don't understand British comedy. No, you just don't know the 70s politics of Britain. That's what you're missing, and it's the same with Mad Magazine. A lot of pop cultural references that if you weren't living through that time and knew the media personalities or have seen the original, Jaws and Star Wars parodies she'd probably get, but then there'd be the off reference to Howard Cosell or something like that might just, you don't even know who Howard Cosell is.
No.
Oh.
See, Boomer, don't you feel old now?
Well, no, I remember they made fun of him in the movie Better Off Dead because they had two Japanese foreign exchange students, and they learned English by listening to Howard Cosell, so they talked exactly like Howard Cosell.
This is Howard Cosell.
Yeah, and they talk exactly like him.
This is relevant, Megan. I need to go into this. So and this is something you could probably Google up. This is a pop cultural reference from the 70s that's probably worth looking into. He was Howard Cosell was a sports commentator. He had this kind of a voice, and he talked like this, and it was pretty stereotypical of the media in the day, and he was often ridiculed and parodied all over the place, to the point where people had a joke that it was just torturous to listen to his voice. And in fact, in the Woody Allen film, what was it? Sleepers. Woody Allen does a film where he's cryogenically frozen, comes back in a dystopian future, and a historian in the future sits him down and says, look, you are in a perfect opportunity to help us to understand the culture of the 20th century because you lived it. And we have some artifacts that we just don't understand, and we're hoping you could explain it. And so he goes through and looks at pictures of famous people and stuff like that, and he's like, that's a picture of Adolf Hitler. He had a bad mustache. I didn't like him much. Oh, that's Joseph Stalin. He had a bad mustache too. I didn't like him either. Oh, this is a centerfold from a magazine called Playboy. These women didn't really exist in real life. They were just blow up dolls that they would take out and take pictures of. And you know what? Let me just fold this up and I'll take this with me and I will do a complete report for you later. And then the guy's looking at him like he doesn't know what he's talking about. He goes, I want you to watch this recording. We don't know what this is. And he's playing the video as he's talking, and it's Howard Cosell doing his commentary. And he goes, we're not sure what this is. We think that this was something that was played for your prisoners as torturous punishment. And he looks and he goes, yes, that's exactly what that was. Yes.
Oh my
So, okay, I just told you all the good stuff about Sleepers, so you don't even have to bother watching the movie. See how I work? I am not telling you all the stuff you got to see. I'm just going to give you the Cliff Notes, and you don't have to bother. You're all caught up on 70s pop culture. Done.
And if you want to caught up on 80s, all it is Flock of Seagulls, right? I'm kidding.
Right, there was a flock of seagulls, and that's about it.
Like, I'm going to miss the 2 decades, and it said there's a gas crisis and a flock of seagulls. I think he says something like that in Austin Powers too. You're not going to miss anything. It's like,
But this is you. You've been here. We've told you everything you need to know about the 7.
So,
anyway, go ahead, Boomer. Sorry, I had to get the little joke in.
I did want to ask her. You said your husband got into the collecting of it, and I suppose do you and him differ on how you collect? Is there a right way to collect comics?
He goes. He's so funny because he's kind of OCD. So he gets one, and then he has to have the whole collection. He has to have the ones before it and after it.
Yeah,
just
I'm
oh
like
my
that
God.
kind of. Yeah.
Me, I just pick it up because I like the cover art, and then I look in and I'm like, oh, this story's caught my attention. Okay, and then I go grab this one. I'm just kind of random, but he's like there's a certain way, and then he will go online and he'll be like, this is a 9.8 rating, and this is a 6 point whatever. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like I just have it because I like it, and he has it because like it might be worth money or it is worth money or whatever. Yeah.
That is something. Now, see, I have seen. This is the area that I see you being tortured with online. As you're trying to do your commentaries and whatnot, you got people like Pops coming in and saying, no, that is too valuable a comic book. You need to press that in acrylic and hide it away in a bunker and go out and buy and to his credit, the one aspect I'm going to focus on, he's absolutely right. If you go out and you get the reprints, those omnibuses and stuff like that, you get a lot more bang for your buck. If you want to get caught up on like a whole year's worth, 1976 in a one book, you can do that, and you can get a lot more enjoyment out of the comics. But that brings up a question that I've been wanting to ask you, and I've been not typing it because I figured I was going to have this opportunity. So where are you? I hear you talking about collecting comics and putting them aside and spending a lot of money on some of those first prints and stuff. What's your take on comic collecting in that regard?
Honestly, he likes to spend the money on it. That's his money. Those are his. I have some that somehow I got cheap, but they're worth money. It was just kind of an accident. Like I picked it up at a Comic-Con or whatever. They're just trying to drop it,
Always very fortuitous, yeah.
I don't care. I don't care if it costs a lot or if it's worth a lot. I just want it for the story. So I don't care if it's a graphic novel or omnibus or whatever. But we happen to have a lot of the more original or whatever.
So when Pops is saying, no, don't open that. Don't crease the covers and stuff. You're going, okay, out of deference to my husband, I will seal it away and I will buy a reprint of The Killing Joke or whatever.
Which I did. And I didn't mind it because it had a little bit more. There's some extra art in the back. It had this really cool like introduction and history and some biography of like the artist and the writer and everything. Yeah. So I thought that was kind of cool because I got more information.
Yeah, it's kind of like with DVDs when you get the special edition later on. It's got all the extras and stuff like that. No, you're absolutely right. It was the same thing with. So you're reading The Watchmen now, but you're reading the individual issues. Had you gotten the collected what do they call it, graphic novel of it? It's got lots of great prototype artwork and behind the scenes and stuff like that.
That's what I love because that helps me put all the pieces of the story together.
Yeah.
And especially with The Watchmen, I'm not going to lie, I am struggling.
So I was waiting. I again didn't put any comments, and I really should. I should be better about leaving comments because it helps the video, it helps the algorithm and everything. But I was saving all my comments because I knew we'd be talking tonight, and I wanted to ask you: have you seen the film Watchmen?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Is that a good idea to watch it before, after, in the middle of reading?
I would say after, because, and this is the unique situation, right? Most adaptations, right? People will tell you, see, and yeah, usually people say see the movie first or the adaptation first and then go back, because if you do it the other way around, you're going to be disappointed. I would say in this circumstance, the reverse is true, and here's why. You're starting, and I gotta be very careful what I say because I don't want to, ruin the experience for you. But you're noticing as you're reading, you have the main narrative, you have these news clippings, you have this kid reading a comic book. All of this stuff seems very disjointed, and for the fans of the comic, when they were talking about doing the movie, there was this. How are they going to work all of that stuff in? That's important.
Yeah.
And it's so if you're skipping over those parts and focusing just on the main narrative, you're kind of missing a lot of dimension there. Although there's nothing wrong with doing so and then going back and reading all the news clippings and then going back and reading all the pirate stories and stuff. That's okay.
I've been reading everything in there.
Okay. That's fine, as long as you can keep it straight in your head. I had the benefit that I was doing it from an omnibus, so I had access to all of it at once,
Gotcha.
But
they did release that individually, didn't they?
Yes, they did. And so what happened was when the movie came out, the movie was just the narrative part, and it left out the comic book and it left out the news clippings. But when you bought the DVD, those were DVD extras. It was all there. And you go, oh, this is cool. They didn't leave out anything. That's, and I would even say, and I've said this on other streams, they took the narrative and streamlined it for a 2-hour film. And in a way, I liked some of the changes because some of the narrative gets really convoluted when they start getting into the whole conspiracy theory behind the Rorschach's whole big plan and everything. It's like,
she hadn't finished reading it yet.
No, okay. If she's paying attention, she's kind of cued into what's going on with the story, but it's very convoluted, and to try and explain it in a comic in a film is very difficult. So they came up with a very, I thought, elegant streamlining, and I'm like, I can deal with this. I like this. This is one example of straying from the source material that I can get behind. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I think that something that's lacking is you have Owlman, who's got I guess what they call it today is a dad bod, right? Because he's let himself go.
Yeah.
And that's not something that carries over into the film. And it's like, that's a little shade that kind of would have added something, but this was, I don't know. This is Hollywood. They've all got to be gorgeous no matter what. I don't know. But anyway, so and how far into what issue are you on?
I just finished issue 2. So yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna kind of sort of spoil something only because it's the kind of thing that most people miss when they read through. When you get to there were 12 issues? Mm-hmm. I think it's issue number 6. It's a Rorschach heavy issue. Okay? Focuses on him. It's either 6 or 7, I'm not sure. You'll get all the way through it and probably not even notice if I don't mention this. So I'm going to go ahead and mention it. Rorschach, right? You understand what a Rorschach is, right? Those ink blots. Mm-hmm. You drop ink into and you fold them together and you pull them apart, and they one side mirrors the other, and it's a psychological test just to see what you see in this abstract ink blot, right? It's the Rorschach test. Well, Rorschach has a mask that does that, you know, and this issue of the magazine or the comic book that focuses on him, the panels of the overall comic book function as a Rorschach. So if you look at the first page and the last page, the setup of the panels matches. And when you get to the middle gatefold, it spans the gatefold in a symmetric way. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I'm totally gonna look for that now.
Yeah. No, this is the kind of thing you would totally miss. I didn't catch it until years later someone mentioned it. I'm like, huh? And I went back and I looked and I'm like, holy crap! Yeah, that's pretty cool. You know?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So, yes, go ahead and finish reading the comics and then I would go out and get the DVD. Just get the DVD. It comes with like a bonus disc that's got the comic book and the you know.
Is this the motion comic book?
Yes, it's a motion comic book of the comic book.
The motion comic's very interesting because you know how like you have audio books, like a novel set to audio. This is like the equivalent with a comic book. You have a guy reading all the lines, but you're seeing also the comic book panels, and like they zoom in and zoom in on characters. But you're basically looking at the comic, but you're hearing the audio. So it's almost like a audio book version of the comic book, if that makes any sense. Even though you're seeing those visuals. Yeah.
When I saw my first, when I saw my first motion comic like that, right? I saw it and I was like, well, this is nothing new. This was no different from those 1960s Marvel cartoons like that were Iron literally Man. Just tracings out of the comic book, and they would have and it was all Jack Kirby art, right, that they traced, and then they would have like a static Captain America, you know, moving across the background. You know, that's all the
they did it for Iron
saw. Man
and Thor too, didn't they? I think they did. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's basically how a motion comic works. And I'm like, this is brilliant. I love this. I mean, yeah, talk about cheaping out on the animation. But for a comic book fan, you're like, I see what you're doing there. I kind of dig it. That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. See, I'm making a reference that she totally doesn't get because she didn't live through the 60s. She didn't see those Marvel stories, and I don't think they're available to buy on DVD. You can certainly find them on YouTube if you want to look up the 1960s Marvel, Hulk and stuff like that. And they've got these cheesy openings like I'm going to do it. I've had enough to drink that I'm going to sing. Doc Bruce Banner, belted by gamma rays, turns into the Hulk. Ain't he unglamorous? Trashing the town with the power of a bull. Ain't no monster clown. Who is that lovable? The ever-loving Hulk. Hulk, Hulk, Hulk.
Oh my word!
Thank you, Nana. Somebody had a laugh.
I've not heard that rendition before. I've heard you done the other ones, but that's...
And I know Skipper Kenner's here. He wants to hear me. He wants to hear me do Cap. When Captain America throws his mighty shield, all those who chose to oppose his shield must yield. And if he's led to a fight and a duel is due, then the red and the white and the blue will come through when Captain America throws his mighty shield.
Okay.
She's like, I don't even need to look it up. This was good enough. Drunk Troy singing the Marvel characters' themes.
Actually, that makes me want to ask Noob another question though. Is it Marvel or DC? Which are you the bigger fan?
Oh yeah.
Or you lose half your audience, right? I'm sorry.
No. She may not even be at that point yet, dude.
Okay, I understand.
Honestly, I'm not because there's some characters I love Batman and Catwoman, those are DC. But then I'm really into
Spider-Man and Black Cat.
No.
I'm really into Spider-Woman, and I love Conan. So Red Sonja and Call,
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I like. I've read the. I haven't read the comics, but I've read the original works, which they're based on, the old pulp stories. Yeah, the Robert E. Howard.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Hyborean. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
some
yeah.
good stuff. They're gore. There's gore in those old stories that you'll.
I
Never see
used to
in a movie.
have sitting behind. Oh, I don't have them anymore. I had the old Flash Gordon novelizations behind.
Oh,
me.
really? Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Netter got them for me because I just started getting interested. I see all this talk about these new versions, and I'm like, I haven't even read the originals. Let's go look at those. But yeah, so kind of like your husband, some of the comics I got into through the comics themselves, but some of the characters, it was the cartoons, and I've been really excited about your journey with Spider-Woman, but I came to it not through the comics, but through the early 80s cartoon series, the
Okay.
Jessica Drew and all that kind of stuff, which is very different. And I don't think it's ever been put out on DVD, but, I ended up getting a hold of a bootleg copy of the DVD just, because own physical media, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Matchstick, welcome to the chat, by the way. And he's saying Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew. Huh.
Is
Don't
a
know.
mess.
Yeah, don't know much about her myself other than that she's a bit of a confusing mess. Yes. She's got and she's not as bad as Donna Troy. Not as bad as Wonder Girl. But she's got some wibbly wobbly, timey wimey retcons going on in her history too. So from short hair to long hair to, so on and so forth. She's not the one that was recently pregnant, though, right? That was a different Spider-Girl.
Not
Spider-Woman.
this one.
Yeah, that's in the woke era. You haven't gotten to.
Oh yeah.
Good on you. Enjoy good comics before you have to start dealing with the modern crap. It'll break your heart. It really will. That's the thing. You start to love these characters, and then when you see them getting corrupted, you go, don't do this, I mean, okay, so let me ask you this. Teen Titans. Where are you at on Teen Titans?
I haven't read any Teen Titans yet.
Okay. I'll wait.
Not yet.
I'll wait. I won't.
We have a few. I know we have
Okay.
a few. I just haven't got to them.
That is a challenge because there was a whole era where they had two different titles going at the same time, and one of the titles was a kind of sort of reprint of the other, and it got real confusing for young Troy in the 80s collecting them. And I was like, I'm just going to buy everything. I'm going to buy everything, and if it overlaps, it overlaps. Screw it, because I really love the Teen Titans so much, But I am so grateful that I got the opportunity to meet George Perez in Metropolis, Illinois, at the Superman celebration before he got sick, before he passed. Kind of a comic book hero of mine. Great artist. He did all the Teen Titans during their formative years and whatnot. He did Wonder Woman. He did Superman. He did all of them. So, of course, people were coming up to him and asking him to do a sketch of Superman, mostly Superman, because it was a Superman celebration. He's like, what can I do for you? I said, I want one of yours. I want Jericho. And his face just lit up. He's like, oh, you got it. So I have an original sketch by George Perez. It's a one of a kind of Jericho. I will treasure it always. And Jericho's a perfect example of a character that he was an original character that through the natural evolution of the character, they decided he was gay. No problem. Gay character. He deserves it. He deserves his own identity, right? They didn't take some long established character and just decide to suddenly make him gay or suddenly make him bi or whatever. He was. In fact, it's funny. George never really, claimed this, but when you read the stories about Jericho and the revelation comes out that he's gay, you look back and you're like, yeah, I kind of suspected. Kind of the way he was drawn, kind of the way the story went. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know, but now that you've confirmed it, yeah, you were planning this all along, That's good writing. That, to me, is good character development and good writing, But yeah, when you suddenly, after 50 years, decide that Alan Scott was gay all along and closeted, it's like, really? Yeah, no, there wasn't even any coding there all these years. You're just a hack. Sorry. This is why Aged Boomer's here. This is why I call him my designated driver. I go off on tangents. He brings us back to the guest, right? So no, wait. I got a question. I'm trying to get us back on track.
Okay.
I'm trying to
yelling at me to get you back on track.
No. You're right. But I'm trying. I'm trying here.
Okay.
So.
Okay, let me ask the big question. How many comic books do you own?
Oh, good question. How many comics?
I don't know the number, but it's definitely over 100.
You don't know
over
the
100?
number.
Okay. And do you keep them in like a big long box or?
I wish they were all in the big long box. We have 3 big long boxes. The majority of them are sitting on my coffee table.
And they're just piled up, right?
Yes, in a certain order that the husband likes. And they do not come down here. Then he reads them. They can't leave the coffee table until they're read. Then they come down and they sit on the desk here. And then he has to put them into his Google Documents. And they have to be put in by title, by the year, and by how much they cost. And then they get put into the long box.
Okay.
There you go.
Very organized.
I have to keep
and I'm
mine.
not like that, at all. Oh, and they have to be alphabetized, of course.
Yes. So my long boxes, and you get these long boxes at the comic book store and they're like all white. And so what I do is I print out like the title with the character's logo to slap on the side. It's actually, if I had a comic book store, it would look really awesome, right? I'll have like, Man of Steel and I'll have the Superman symbol and whatnot.
And then the years or the issues, number 1, 2, whatever.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. And sometimes for Superman, like I'll do like Man of Steel, and then I'll have like dividers for the different years and stuff. And if at all possible, I have the annual slipped into where it falls into the story. If that's the case, if not, I just put it at the end of the year and stuff. Oh gosh, yeah, I'm pretty anal retentive.
Whereas I have one short box, and it is filled with every single title of The Badger.
Yep, she's got the complete collection of The Badger. That was an independent comic. It's
that's Foofy's fault.
Yeah, that's Skipper Kenner's fault. Ditch the buff coat, Larry. You can think of The Badger as kind of like Deadpool without the breaking the fourth wall thing. Okay. It's that kind of goofy silliness.
Yeah.
He's schizophrenic with multiple personalities.
Yeah, exactly. Which is weird. Like he's married, but one of his alters is gay, and it's like, what the? Yeah, it's just bizarre. It's all really, really bizarre. So anyway, yeah. So you, what I wanted to ask though was, so how long ago did you emigrate? Did you escape from beyond the maple curtain?
6 years. I've been here 6 years now. Basically, it was after we got married because he was in the Marine Corps. I mean, he wasn't gonna move up to Canada. He was in the military. So yeah, 6 years.
Okay. And yeah, I didn't want to speak for you earlier, but you've kind of implied it. You basically moved here for love, which is an awesome thing. You seem happy with the choice. I think things have worked out for you. I think that's a good thing. And without being too specific, whereabouts are you?
Texas.
That explains it. That explains it. Because
What?
when I first started watching your channel, I thought Texas. I thought, and I'm like, how did you pick up the accent so darn quickly? You know?
I do that though. Like I'm kind of a chameleon, so I have to actually be careful because if I'm around someone with an accent, I'm gonna pick it up, and then they're gonna think I'm making fun of them, but I'm not. I just.
Netter and I are like that too, though. I mean, well, Netter's especially bad because she grew up with a British mother, so picking up the British accent is like this to her because she's so
Yeah.
used to it. You know.
Problem with my accent.
I have no problem with your accent. Your accent is
love it.
beautiful. But I, on the other hand, do that more because of my acting background. And although I wasn't classically trained, I did go to a school. I majored in liberal arts, so the acting school was within my general field.
Yeah.
And I picked up, because I was such an Anglophile, I picked up one of their audio tapes on learning the different British accents and so forth. And I got so interested in that, I began studying accents in general. Because if you are classically trained as an actor, that's something you do, right? So that's the big difference between British actors and American actors. British actors are generally classically trained. So when they put on an accent, you're like, wow, I didn't even know they weren't, whatever. Whereas Americans are like Kevin Costner, can't do a British accent, and it's like, oh, don't even try. Don't. And then when you have an American actor that does a believable British accent, you're like, hey, that's pretty good. Usually that's like Gwyneth Paltrow. Well, yeah. Not a big Gwyneth Paltrow fan, but yes.
I'm just saying the accent.
No, you're absolutely right about that. You're absolutely right about that. Oh, that may have more to do with the fact that she spent a lot of time in Britain, immersed in it,
Okay. Well, there you go.
than being. Well, no, I'm not certain what her training is because she comes from Hollywood royalty, so to speak. So I don't know, but anyway, yeah. So if you're a true actor, you're gonna be paying attention to accents, So I not only do I just British accent, American accent, I go, is it a Welsh accent? Is it an Irish accent? Is it a Scottish accent? Is it a Lancashire accent? That sort of a thing. And for such a small island, they have a breadth. Their cultures and accents are as diverse as all the United States. It's amazing. But it's amazing how Aged Boomer can be down in Florida and he doesn't have a Florida accent. I knew he was from the north. You never picked up that Florida accent. And then you got Megan who moves from up there a boot there, and she moves down here and she's got this beautiful southern drawl, and it's like, what happened to you?
I went back home to visit one time. I'd been in the States. I'd only been in Texas for maybe 2 years because we were in North Carolina first. And then we went to Texas. And
there's a synergy there, though, between those accents.
yeah,
So.
yeah. And I went back home, and we've been in Texas maybe 2 years at that point. Maybe 3. I can't remember. Whatever. Anyways, I lose track of time. But I went back home, and we were at a friend's house, and everybody's talking amongst themselves in the living room. And all of a sudden, I realized I can hear a Canadian accent. I know what a Canadian... you don't actually know what your own accent sounds like.
Yeah.
And I was like...
But when you've been away from it for long enough, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it was in that moment I realized I've lost my accent. Because I can hear it.
Right,
you can
exactly.
only hear it when
But
you lose
actually,
it.
You haven't, because when you said the word home, I heard it Canadian.
Oh,
Did you?
so
Like-
some words every now and
Probably some
again.
words, yeah.
Yeah.
When you said home, it was like that was definitely Canadian.
Well, and that's something that people don't consider. You study regional dialects, and what you do is you overgeneralize, because the fact is every individual has their own history and background, and their own personal accent, right?
Yeah.
I've had people that were like, oh, you definitely have this Midwestern accent. I'll be like, okay, I'll take your word for it. And then I'll have others that go, I know you're from the North, but I don't know exactly what your accent is. And I got to tell them, oh, I'm from Chicago. No, you don't sound like you're from Chicago. Okay, fine. Whatever. That's cool. But I don't know, Boomer. Do I sound like I'm from Chicago?
I guess you sound like you're from the big city.
The big city? and the fact is,
I should
Netta and I
have
did
a New
live in
York
Chicago
accent.
proper, but never in the city proper, like on the outskirts, just. But I've been a suburban kid most of my life, I don't call it Chicago, I don't anyway.
Chicago. Okay.
Oh yeah, Skipper Kenner, who's in the chat here. Well, I knew he would enjoy my singing, but he does a great Chicago accent. He affects a good Chicago accent. So, Megan, I guess I'm sure that a lot of channels focus on the comics and the fandom and stuff, but there's a lot more to you than just that. What other things are you into? Other things you might want to promote that you don't generally promote on your channel?
I
Well, the reason I bring this up is because I'm reading your Twitter bio, and it says you're a model, an artist, a pianist, a teacher.
I say teacher, but I'm actually a therapist. It's just easier to say teacher.
Oh, that's interesting.
Fair enough. Sustainable. I can't even say it. Sustainable. Well, it's because I'm starting to slur my words. Sustainable living enthusiast.
Yeah.
And then you say, check out my YouTube channel, but you don't talk about any of those things.
I have a question. Can you diagnose superheroes? Okay, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out.
I mean,
like Batman, I think he's got a screw loose.
so
That's
what I
just
do
my
is
opinion.
it's behavior change therapy. So it's like I'm a behavior therapist. So I work with kids in the autism spectrum who have usually they have like behavioral issues. They usually are aggression or stuff like that because of where they are. And so it's behavior change therapy. We use what's called applied behavior analysis, and you basically observe their behavior and you figure out why they're behaving the way they behave and in what environments they're behaving this way, and then what can you change in the environment and in their behavior to make them be able to be a better part of society, basically.
Cool.
So it sounds like we have a lot more in common than I thought. When I mentioned going to university, I was focusing on psychology. I was
Did
planning
you know
on.
I studied acting too? I did.
Did you really?
Yeah, I
Okay,
did.
doesn't surprise me. So I studied psychology, and acting was and drama was more of a hobby because I say it was a hobby, but my first acting experience was professional. When I was in no, I guess that's not true. In grade school, I was in a variety show at my school. Played Groucho Marx in a. If you ever see the film Animal Crackers, it was kind of an adaptation of Animal Crackers, but it also incorporated elements of some of the other Marx Brothers sketches. So I did that, but then when I was in 8th grade, I was in the band. I played the trombone, and my band leader, his son, he was auditioning for the Music Man at a local dinner theater. So they needed kids to be in the ensemble to be in the boys' band at, the end of the play. Mm-hmm. So I went and auditioned, and it was good money for an 8th grader, But I had to register with the the guild and stuff, and I got my card, and I made some pretty decent money at the time. So I could never say, you know, I was an amateur actor after that. But then I totally became an amateur actor when I went into high school. I went out for the musicals and the plays and all that kind of stuff. But then when I went to university, I didn't take any drama classes, but I picked up some of their textbooks and the audio books and stuff, and kind of was a little self-taught in that regard. But no, I was a psychology major. And then I got married and dropped out of college because, you know,
I didn't make you.
no, you didn't directly, but the way it works is when your mom is a single mom, you know, and you have almost zero income, you're able to get a lot of financial aid. But once you get married and your wife is working full time, suddenly you don't qualify for all that financial aid. And we made just enough money to live on, but not enough to send me to school. So I was like, screw it, I'll get a job and maybe I'll go back. And then I was like, you know what? I don't need this degree. I don't think I even want to go into psychology. And so I didn't. But you said you work with people affected with autism. My brother was autistic, so I definitely have a heart for that. Very severely autistic. He lived in a group home. It was an incredible challenge for my mom. Again, a single mom, you know. So, and as he got older, she just couldn't physically handle, you know, dealing with his tantrums and whatnot.
Yeah.
So she had to get some help. I think you really understand what I'm talking about with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why. And then of course Skipper Kenner's ripping on me. Troy said pianist. I said pianist, not penis, not penis.
Oh.
He always gets me into trouble. But so you are a pianist. Have you performed publicly?
Yeah. I've played with an orchestra before. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was classically trained. I played since I was 11.
Nice. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. I look at this bio and I'm like, model, artist, pianist, teacher, you know, well, therapist. I mean, you know, wow. And yet your channel is about pop culture and comics. Wow. You could almost have a different channel for each one of those.
Yeah, I do have a different channel a second channel. I haven't done a lot of work on it, and it's like there's some art modeling stuff on there, but I haven't done a lot with it. It's kind of a stagnant channel right now.
That's fine.
Mostly
I get
because
that.
it's not super focused, and I don't know how to clean it up. And I'm since the coof hit, I haven't done a lot of modeling because modeling world is very much like it's pretty woke, like Hollywood. Do you know
I
what
would
I'm saying?
imagine.
And a lot of times I just don't fit in, and that's fine. I know that, whatever. But like nowadays, most companies that want to model, they want you to have the jab. It's a lot harder to travel when you don't have the jab, and I don't. So yeah.
Gotcha.
And through the coof, I was with an agency, and it was a smaller one, and I was new, and they dropped me, and then I wouldn't get the jab, so they wouldn't pick me back up.
I dig it. I'll tell you, it's well, you've been following Viva and Barnes, so you kind of know a lot of the legalities, both in Canada and U.S. They're a great channel to follow because you get both sides. That's got to be great for you. But there's a lot of cases right now going up through the system, and they're just getting struck down because it's like, no. You can't discriminate, you know, and the HIPAA laws are starting to come in. And all the people on social media that were like, no, HIPAA law doesn't apply to this, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it does. You don't understand how law works, you know, unless they decide to go back and pass a whole separate law to amend HIPAA to exempt, you know, vaccination, which would be an interesting take altogether because my body, my choice.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Don't even start on My Body, My Choice. If it's okay to kill your baby, but it's not, but I don't get a choice in what you stick into my body. No. You can't have it both ways. But I guess that kind of consistency is a little bit of a challenge to some people. My way or whatever. But anyway, no, I get that. And on the one hand, I'd almost want to encourage you. These things are going to work themselves out in the courts. But at the same time, I understand the modeling, thing. And you got a limited window on that. So,
yeah.
I dig that. And then there is I want to be careful in how I say this because I don't want it to be misinterpreted. I don't mean what it sounds like I mean, but there is the independent model who, can monetize her appearance without compromising herself.
Yeah. And
you understand?
Yes, I understand. And there are a few models that do that, and there's some agencies that let you do both. It's a lot more difficult, and it's like there's different apps and sites that you can go on, and I am on them. And you can apply, like different companies will be like, hey, we're looking for models.
Yeah.
And it's basically the same companies that agencies have their agents on and are just putting in models. So it's like I'm doing the work of an agency for myself. It's a lot of work.
I get that.
So I do that, and I'll be like, oh, I'll do this job or whatever. But
just remember your alternate YouTube channels. What you want to do is take that channel and feature it as, there's a tab for other channels on your main channel so that I can click on it and I can go, yeah. See, I do the same thing. I've got to
go in and like kind of,
yes,
organize.
Yes. Another thing. I've been holding on to this to share with you, Megan. You are now past the 100 subscribers point. You're actually past the 500. But once you get past 100, you can go in, and I'm getting hit with the bots. See, the adult dating sites. Because I don't know, I get a pretty girl on my channel, and we start getting adult dating sites.
New dating site. What?
Yeah.
Adult?
Thank you, Blue Wrenches.
Adult, not minor.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, so I have a secondary channel too. I think a lot of people know it. It's Kartan the Klingon Cleric, but I just pushed to get it past 100 subscribers because when you get past 100 subscribers, you can go in and set up a custom URL. So you could your channel. And I can. So your URL currently is.
It's a bunch of numbers and letters, right?
Yeah, it's like UCJQ, whatever. Yeah. Whereas you can go in and set it up to be Megan Lee or Noob Review or whatever. And then when I share your link in, if you come back on my channel and haven't outgrown and, don't have time for little guys like me. In the future. And I put the link, it'll just be at Megan Lee or at the Noob Reviews or whatever. And that'll be a link directly to your YouTube. It's convenient. It's very convenient. Yeah, I had to talk Aged Boomer through it. Literally, I had to send him a tutorial how to do it because he's an Aged Boomer. And
If I could ask our guest here a question, do you read the Conan comics? Are they the Marvel Conan comics that you're reading?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it's funny. My co-host on my other, I'm his co-host on Birdman. He gave me for my birthday. I think he gave me a whole collection of the Dark Horse Conan comics, but I haven't read the Marvel ones. Yeah, but.
And I'm guessing that you probably follow Midnight's Edge because Andre has some.
Yes.
If you don't, you should. Andre's got some great videos up about the history of Conan and from the original stories through the different comic adaptations and the rights issues. And
do you know what's a great movie to watch if you haven't seen it? The Whole Wide World. Have you heard of it? It
No.
has.
I haven't heard of this.
It's a biopic of Robert E. Howard, the guy that wrote Conan. And
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
Vincent D'Onofrio plays him in the movie.
Oh, Netter would probably really like it.
Yeah.
He had a pretty sad story. It's
Kind of, yeah.
He had some challenges. I mean, following him is in his story, it's kind of like Hemingway. It's like, yeah,
Actually,
great art, but tragic struggles in life.
So you live in Texas. There's a big Robert E. Howard festival out there every year, isn't there?
I don't know.
For Conan.
Oh,
yeah,
I hadn't heard this either.
No. There's Howard Days. They do it at his hometown, kind of like how they have the Metropolis Superman thing. I don't know if that would interest
What's his
you.
hometown?
Let me find out.
Look it up, Boomer. Yeah, Texas is a much bigger state than Illinois. So I can drive down to southern Illinois, literally the length of Illinois in 5 hours. It could take her 2 days to get across Texas, depending on where she is. Don't tell anyone where you are in Texas.
In a little over 5 weeks.
Leave it. You're in Texas, and that's good enough.
Let me find out where it is. Well, anyway.
And Daniel is saying, "Oops." Switched on me. Daniel is saying French Conan comic adaptations are awesome. What, more nudity? I mean, what could be? I don't know. I mean, boobies are awesome. That's all I can say. Boobies are awesome. I mean,
I haven't met a straight guy that said otherwise, so.
I haven't met a gay guy who said otherwise. Seriously, even gay guys like boobies. Even some women like boobies. Boobies are awesome. Just a couple weeks back we had Fanzine on and we were talking about, how in the 80s, PG-13 films, topless women, no problem. It was awesome. It was, it was of its time. You can't do that these days. Oh my gosh, male gaze is evil, and yet, women are still spending millions of dollars to look a certain way and whatnot. Gee, I wonder why. Oh, it's for themselves, to make them feel good. Why would that make them feel good unless they wanted to look good for who was looking at them? Unless they're going to spend their life standing in front of a mirror,
Anyway.
Oh. When I decided to get rid of all of this, the first thing I did was ask Netter. I said, look, I don't like the way I look as the widow's peak is happening and the big, bald spot in the back. I'm thinking about just taking it off. And she's like, it's your hair. Do what you want with it. I'm like, no, I got to ask you. You're the one who's going to have to look at it. She's like, yeah, go ahead, do it. And then she laughed at me the first couple of days. She's like, I can't get used to it. Now, when my hair starts growing out, she's like, you're getting lazy. You need to get that taken care of.
Okay. It's in Cross Plains, Texas, in a place called Callahan County. So I don't know if that's anywhere where.
Again, Texas is a big place. The fact that she doesn't know about
the county, I can't do any better than that. Anyway, I'm rambling. Anyway,
I'll have to Google it myself and look at Google Maps and stuff.
Because you are starting to go to to cons and get-togethers and stuff. I've saw some videos about that too. You want to talk about that a little bit? Some of the stuff you've done and gone to, and who knows? Maybe one of these days you'll have your own booth and people will be coming and asking for your autograph on one of your modeling glossies or something.
Probably not.
You laugh, but if you wanted to market yourself that way, you totally could.
Yeah, we'll see. No, I went to the first ever con, I guess you could call it, was at the Fan Expo in Dallas, and I went to the meetup. Friday Night Tights meetup there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you were there? Yeah, see, I saw all of them talking about that, but yeah, good.
Yeah. So I was there, and then we had a small Comic Con in the county I live in. We went there and there's a lot of, it was small, but it was, because where I live is a smaller area, but I could not believe how big this con was in our small area. I didn't expect that. I was like, oh, this isn't as lame as I thought it was.
You may have had some people coming in from out of town too, because,
They just go from con to con, right?
Right, exactly. And especially now, we've gone through 2.5 years of everything being shut down, so people are kind of eager.
Yes, and I think more people are going to the smaller ones because the smaller ones have less rules and regulations and
They
stuff.
feel like the cons used to feel before the
Yeah.
money people got in charge of them, I guess. Yeah.
And, Megan, this is something that I commonly hear, from ladies that I know in the fandom that are models. Yes, I do know many. So one of the big things for them to promote both their love of fandom and their modeling is cosplay. You're not doing a lot of cosplay?
I haven't done any cosplay. I would love to do it. Yeah, I like to dress up and stuff. But it's something I'm not getting into right now because I know it costs a lot of money.
It does.
And I'm a perfectionist.
Yep.
And
You have to be. If you're going to do the cosplay, you almost have to be.
And I'm the kind of person who's like you can, I can't get into it right now because I can't afford it.
And let me ask you.
I know there's that Star Wars girl, like she does like a calendar and
she's crazy, but she's also monetized big time, and she probably makes big bucks, so she's doing good. I mean, she's she's a sweetie too. Do you? When you start talking cosplay, this question has to be asked. You sew? Do you know how to make your own clothes and stuff like that?
I mean, the only thing I've ever done is like I can mend clothes. I've never actually like really sewn something.
Like made a dress from a pattern or something like that.
I haven't done that, but I feel like I could do it.
Yeah, it's worth looking into. That is a skill to develop. You know what? Just for getting through life, but if you're going to do cosplay, you got to.
Yes.
And when Netter and I started getting into the cosplay, we had to. Netter and I did a lot of Victorian reenacting and steampunk, and guys got it easy. We can buy off the rack. We can literally go to the formal wear store and buy a tuxedo, and we're good to go.
Just add some things to it. And
maybe make a specific style of waistcoat, waistcoat, to match the era, but otherwise everything else is off the rack for guys. For women, she would have to make these whole Victorian dresses from scratch. Well, I say she, but I definitely helped. So that was a skill we developed. And then it's got what, three dresses that you made yourself?
Yeah, I have a tea gown, a day outfit, and an evening outfit. And before I made those, I could barely sew on a button.
Yep. And she does the bustles and the whole bit and the corseting and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. That's definitely, but you know what? It's a skill that's definitely applied to life. Mending. What's mending? I can make a whole outfit if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But Netter and I also do the Klingon thing. So you definitely need to know how to do the leather working and the craft foam and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, now all that stuff is out there on the YouTubes. So, but you know what? You're also part of a community now, Megan. So when you do want to start getting into it, you just put out a video and say, hey guys, I'm looking to do this costume. Any suggestions, any help, anything you can, and people will just, and I don't just mean people being stands, I mean like, people in the community that are just like, oh, I know what you're going through. I can help you. I can, whatever, and every now and again you'll get someone that goes, hey, just send me your measurements. I'll do that thing for you. No problem. Pay for materials. No problem.
Troy, I've never told you this, but when I was in 6th grade, I went to a Star Trek convention, and I had a blue long sleeve shirt, and I sewed a science officer. I not sewed, steamed a science officer insignia badge on it. That was my costume, and black jeans. What do you think of that, huh?
Nowadays,
the 80s, man. It was the 80s.
Yeah. Nowadays at the conventions, you'd have people going, oh, that was a good effort. Seriously. The cosplay community is pretty catty when it comes to that.
Leave me alone. Come on.
They're very serious about their cosplays. Holy.
Megan, if you were going to do a costume, what would you do?
I don't know.
Red
I don't
Sonja?
know.
Suggestion? Wonder Woman. You could do the Wonder Woman. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. And what you do is you do yourself a good Wonder Woman costume. It doesn't even have to be a good Wonder Woman costume. It just has to be an okay Wonder Woman costume. Get some, whoever does your photos for you, get some photos taken. You put them up on your alternate channel, and you would have the fanboys flocking, and some of the girls. Definitely.
So, what do you like about Conan and Red Sonja? Or you seem to mention those ones. Was it anything particular that drew you to them, or?
It actually took me a little bit to warm up to Conan.
Oh, okay.
I just picked up Conan. We came across it randomly, and I was like, okay, I'll try this. It's new. I've kind of heard of it. And I wasn't super into him at first, and then I read a couple more. I was like, I really like this guy. Like, he's very honorable in. You have more. In your chat, you have more dating sites.
Wow, you saw them before I did.
I saw them as soon as they came up.
So, real quick, Megan, you want to explain what a Stan is to Stan? His Skipper Kenner's name is Stan. So I say Stans, and he's like, wait, what now?
I haven't actually heard stands until here because I've heard simps. I've not heard stands. Is that the same thing?
There's overlap.
I was assuming
There's
it was.
overlap.
What?
You're probably right. Simps is probably what I really meant.
I don't know that I know what a stan is.
Simp. Okay, explain simp first.
Who, me?
No, Megan. Shut up. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to my friends.
I get it. Okay.
You're basically just a fan of the person. Like you are just Phil.
Actually,
Phil
that's
isn't simp.
that's really more Stans. Simps is Simps is a little bit more. Simps is the guys drooling on you and
Phil
thinking they got it. Maybe knowing they don't have a shot with you, but they'll spend the money to get your attention, and
Oh yeah, okay.
the kind of guys that go to OnlyFans. Let's put it that way. Those are the simps, Whereas the
feel like
Stans.
People have used simps very loosely then.
Yes, absolutely. Whereas Stans are more general, not like, the drooling fans, but they have a vested interest in you, whether it's because of the message or whether it's because of, some niche of fandom that they flock to you.
Okay.
But there is huge overlap there too. So I was being more general when I say stans, but yeah, sometimes what I meant was simps. So,
Yeah, don't insult Stan.
I'm not if I'm going to insult Stan, I'm going to insult Stan directly. I mean, he's got it coming, but this isn't about Stan tonight. This is about Megan. And her simps. I mean stans. I mean fans. But yeah. So yeah, I mean it's all about and I understand how it is when you start out on the YouTubes or whatever. You're still deciding what your brand is, and so you gotta just decide how much you just want to. I just want to be a comic book girl, and this is my thing. Or
I definitely I want to branch out. I have lots of ideas of different things I want to do. It's just more like the time.
I don't know what I said that got Phil, to perk up, but I must have said something kind of.
I don't know.
I'm sure that if I said anything that really offended Megan, Netter would Gibbs slap me. So I mean, that's what she's here for. So, do you know what Gibbs slap is?
No.
Okay. You ever heard of NCIS, the CBS show?
Oh, yes. Gibbs.
Gibbs, yeah.
Head, gotcha.
Boom. Yeah, Gibbs slap. That's a Gibbs slap, Netter and I have been big fans. We have all the DVDs over there on the
Well, we don't have the newest seasons.
Yeah, we're a little behind, but we have most of them, and yeah, and I'm the one who's often quoting the Gibbs rules. Gibbs rule number 9. Do you know what Gibbs rule number 9 is?
I don't have his
Always
rules
carry
memorized.
a knife.
Always carry a knife. Yes, absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
Denozo used to call McGeek on that show.
McGeek.
Yeah.
McGeek. Well, that's when Denozo was stolen away by whatever that
Bull. It was called
I like
bullshit
Bull
show
and
that you watch, Boomer.
And
It was
had
called
mostly good
Bull.
seasons. So the final.
Yeah, well, get him back on NCIS. That's where he belongs.
Well,
for
he's not on
frick.
anymore because that show's over.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Not
it
like
is.
that last season.
I
No.
know.
Not have a good
I mean,
last season.
NCIS was good stuff, but yeah.
You can end
Gib
it
slap.
prior season, you're fine. Yeah.
Slap me
anyway.
upside the head when I get out of line, because I, when I drink, I can get a little bit like Denozo, get a little raw, a little inappropriate. And Netter's here to keep me in line. Actually, so is Boomer. So
Now keep in mind, he only has a drink once a week.
she always says that. She always wants to point out that I only drink on the Friday. Well, and that there's a reason for that, right? Because Friday I got to sober up on Saturday, and I can't drink on Sunday because I got to work on Monday. So
Yeah.
Friday night's all right for drinking.
He
That
doesn't
makes
get
sense.
as drunk as you think he does.
I don't get as drink as you think I am. Yes, absolutely.
It's funny.
So, and I have all sober to Sunday up on. So that's the way it goes. But it's Friday nights are fun, and for my fans, Friday nights are fun to watch Troy drink, because they don't show up for the beginning. They wait until like the last half of the show, because that's when it starts to get really interesting. It's like, oh, he's well into it tonight. Let's see if he's able to finish the show himself, or if Agent Boomer has got to shut the show down. There have been a couple shows like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
There was one.
Well, then there was the one where I was. I was doing back-to-back shows where I was starting out a 1-hour show here, and then we were going to go over to Wolf 10 Media's channel for a
Right.
rewatch of
Van Helsing.
Van Helsing.
Yes, and we were going to do two teams, and the one team was those of you who didn't maybe think that Van Helsing was a masterpiece, which it wasn't. That's my opinion. It's not a fact.
I was in
anyway.
perfect agreement with Agent Boomer on
and
this.
then Wolf 10, and I forget who else was on with him. Was it Zootopia or was it Skipper?
Or was it Mr. Matchstick? I don't remember.
I don't know. But he had another guest on with him, and they were doing the pro, and then Troy had to bow out like 10
because I did the
minutes
first hour as an intro over here, basically because it was my Friday night time slot. I wanted to keep it open, so I did an intro, but I figured I needed a front load because I was like, if I'm going to get through Van Helsing, I need to be schnockered.
And I remembered.
Oh God, yeah. So by the end of my hour, I'd kind of overestimated my tolerance, and as it turns out, on an empty stomach. So by the end of my so by the end of my stream, I switched over to his, and I didn't even know what I was. Blotto. I was completely blotto. I didn't know what I was. I didn't know what buttons I was pressing. I was, and I'm like, I'm like, guys, I can't. And Netter's like, I'm gonna have to shut down the stream, and Boomer, you're on your own. And he's like, okay. So it was just him with two other guys. He's trying to do the whole this movie sucks, but he's all on his own. He's like, you abandoned me. I'm like,
I ended up watching the stupid film that I hated.
Netter did end up watching it and blue wrenching,
I
but
wanted to be alone.
yeah, I was.
I know
was
one
sick.
part I
got sick.
Was so bad. And I don't know if Wolf 10 or somebody was defending him. Maybe I just thought it was Ben. I was calling Troy. I needed backup.
I was Van
wasted. Helsing.
I was
was
a mess.
movie
I honestly don't.
like.
I had to go back and watch the stream because I didn't remember what happened. It was that bad. It was, but you know what? That's my commentary on Van Helsing. That's how bad I think that show is. That film.
It didn't get a sequel.
Don't get me wrong. I love what's that Aussie kid's name? Who was it who played Wolverine?
Hugh Jackman. Yeah.
Hugh Jackman. I love Hugh Jackman. He's great.
Actor, yes.
But oh my gosh,
Kate Beckinsale's easy on the eyes, at least back then she wasn't.
Yeah, but if you want to see Kate Beckinsale in a film like that, you watch Underworld. I mean.
Yeah, I know. Basically, yeah, it's the
You know, I mean, but
better. Actually, a better Van Helsing is Underworld.
I'm telling you, we get Megan on here, and the porn bots come like crazy.
What are you doing?
It's I don't know what that says. I mean,
Megan, do you have a favorite villain? I guess
I thought you were gonna say. I didn't know where you were going with that.
I was just waiting for.
Do you have a favorite what?
Do you have a favorite porn site?
Oh, let's not go there. Villain, like he reads superhero comics. Is there a villain?
Megan, this is what happens when I've been drinking. This is what you got yourself into. You had the opportunity to watch older episodes to see what you were getting into. Just saying.
And
do you have a favorite DC villain? That's what I want to ask.
DC villain?
Yes. Or a favorite Marvel
This
villain.
is how he brings us back to center.
Yes. Or maybe you haven't read enough yet. You're still mulling
I don't think
about.
I've read enough to
Okay.
have a favorite villain. To be honest.
Okay.
No.
I like Gorilla Grodd. He's my favorite DC villain. Because he's an intelligent gorilla with psychic powers. What else do you want?
What a weird character. A gorilla with, human intelligence
yes.
and psychic powers.
Yes,
and
yes.
I read a small. It was in an annual. One of the annuals I read. He was yes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so weird.
Was it a Flash annual or someone else?
It was
I think he's a Flash. He's a Flash villain. Yeah, he's a Flash.
I was going to say, yeah, exactly. Although Mego, no, I'm sorry, it wasn't Mego. It was Figures Toy Company did a Gorilla Grodd action figure from the Super Friends. And that is an awesome figure to have when you're doing customs of, things like Bigfoot from the $6 Million Man, and if you want to do Chewbacca, if you want to do 9-inch Star Wars figures. Just a side thing. I'm kind of preloading for next week because Andy Masterson is going to be my guest next week, and we're going to be talking custom action figures. So,
oh wow,
yeah, that's going to be some fun. But sorry. I tend to go all over the place. The more I drink, the more chaotic I get. So
You've had one.
But I keep refilling it. So she's gonna take the bottle away from me now. Wait, let me show it on screen so they can see.
They know what Fireball looks
she's
like.
taking the bottle away from me. This is not a sponsored stream. Just what I like to do on my Friday nights. She's taking it away from me. Little sneaky shit. Everyone on camera is seeing me just pouring.
I did see you pour at least 2 more. Not sure how many.
Yeah.
I wasn't counting.
But so if it was a drinking night for you, Megan, what would be your drink of choice?
I'm trying.
Don't say White Claw.
I was one of those college kids that just drank really random bad mixed drinks.
that happens.
Don't say White Claw. And she pulls out a White Claw.
I don't think I've ever drank a White Claw before, actually.
It's kind of like a wine cooler. It's like a seltzer, a flavored seltzer with vodka. I mean, it's ridiculed as a girly drink. You know, I mean,
a girly drink.
Yeah,
I got attacked for drinking hard cider. Drink a man's drink, usually by the women.
Over on Brandon Herrera's channel, he does the White Claw penetration test. What? He puts up White Claws and he uses them for target practice. He says that's what it's good for. I bought a couple. I don't even remember. Oh, I got them because of that. I'm like, well, now I want to know what these things taste like. And I'm like, yeah, this is like a step down from Zima. So she doesn't even know what Zima is. That's an 80s drink.
But I think somebody in there mentioned that.
Yeah, Zima. It's a lager, as Skipper Kenner would say. Oh, yeah, right. He even said White Claw is Zima. Zima's a lager. Yeah, the problem with having Skipper Kenner in the channel is he's a real life friend, so we have a lot of these in jokes that nobody gets, and that's fine. He's fun. he's the one who pokes me and gets me into trouble because he knows how to rile me up.
Yes, but you're the one who poses as extra.
I don't need alcohol to be stupid. I'm stupid and I'm sober. Have I ever seen you drunk? Oh, I'm sorry. That was Matanui. Well, still good. Good on you, Matanui. Being fun sober is awesome. The only reason you want to drink is if you're the type where it augments, the fun that you normally have.
Liquid courage too. It helps with that, right? I'm just
saying. Oh, because I'm such a shy, introverted kind of person. I need the alcohol to. No, it's interesting because my mother, the whole drama and acting thing. My mother pushed me into that because well, here's how she did it. How she did it and what her intent were two different things. She said, you want to go into acting, you want to go into drama because you meet a lot of girls there. Which was true, which was absolutely true. And since I was the only straight guy, it worked out perfectly. I was, hey, if you're going to date anybody, it's going to have to be me by default. As ugly and misshapen as I am, I'm the only straight guy that you're associating with. So you better date me. But the reason that she gave, however, was, or that she really intended, was she said, I wanted you to get out of yourself, not be shy. And if you do, and it's true. From years of being on stage, and honestly, there's no way I could do this YouTube thing if it hadn't been for that. It's like, if I have 10 viewers or 10,000, it's going to be the same thing. I'm just going to be myself, and I'm going to, not care. And I'm just here talking to the audience, not a problem. And if I've studied my lines and whatnot, I'm performing and I don't even see the audience, which is kind of funny because anybody who's ever done any kind of acting knows before you go out on stage, you're nervous and you've got the butterflies and you're like, oh my God, how do I do this? Why do I do this? I'm never going to do this again. You get out on stage and it's flipping awesome and you get this huge dopamine rush. And then you go out for your curtain call and it's like, this is why I do it. This is why, You know what I'm talking about, right? See. You can't be a model and a YouTuber and all this and not at least kind of get what I'm talking about. You do have a little shyness though, right?
Yeah, like the more people, like the larger the group I'm in, the less I'm going to talk. I can keep a conversation going if I have to, but if there's more people talking, I'm going to talk less, and yeah.
That's why, yeah, I've been in a lot. Well, you and I were in a panel together over on Pop's channel. Mm-hmm. And that particular panel, I don't know what it was about that night. It was just chef's kiss. There was like a whole bunch of us, but it was just smooth. And, we were talking about Comic-Con. And we all had our individual topics, and we planned it out like we were professionals, right? Like, can you talk about this and can you talk about that? And we would just be quiet while this person was talking. And it was like a news show, it was just awesome. But yeah, I've been on a lot of other panels that had that many, and it was just people talking over each other. And it was just a mess. And it's like, yeah, I've come to the conclusion that unless you're really skilled at running your show, 3, maybe 4 people on a panel is it. Otherwise it just becomes a mess. But you have that I'm going to just call it a shtick. You've got that shtick where you convey this innocent shyness, but we all know that it's only a little bit, because the reality is you're totally out there and you have no problem projecting yourself either. It's just,
I think most of it would be like, I was definitely very shy and a wallflower as a kid.
Okay.
Like I was so shy, people would ask me what my name was and I would completely blank. Like I had such high anxiety as a kid. I was like, what the heck is my name? I don't even know right now. Like it was so bad. But over time I've gotten way better. And I think part of it also is my upbringing. Like, my parents were my mom was very strict Baptist, and it was like,
Yeah.
you don't show off and you don't perform, and like, all this stuff,
Oh.
but yet everything I did is performance based. So anyway, go figure.
Have you
So
ever
I
seen the
always
movie?
have this in me that's like, don't be a show off, don't be a show off, don't be a show off. Yeah.
Megan, have you ever seen the movie Footloose?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Kind of
was
like
my
that,
life.
huh?
Yeah, yeah. I was only allowed to dance ballet because it was the most appropriate dance
Oh.
style. Yeah.
So no swing dancing or anything like that. No.
No.
No sock hops for you. No.
Not for me.
We have someone in the chat had a question for Megan here, if you don't mind me interjecting.
Which one?
It matched. Like, he
bring
was
it up.
asking, has she watched? She's in the comics. Has she watched any media that comics are based on? Like, maybe played any games or seen any of the cartoons or the movies based on some of the comics she likes? Maybe.
Not
anything, or-
really. No.
Okay.
No.
It's all right.
You're bad, Stan. You are bad. Fireball's gone. Release the Kraken. Yeah.
Dan, don't make me gift slap him.
Yeah, no. She absolutely will.
Actually, you did say you like to read books. Have you read any books based on comic book characters?
No.
I'm kind of curious. Like,
I just got a bunch of off of eBay. I got a box of Conan.
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
Really
You have.
rough shape.
You actually had a
That's it.
video about that.
Yeah.
By the way, I haven't mentioned this enough. Links down below. Make sure you're following Megan, because she's got some great content where she talks about the comics she's reading. Real quick, I want to play this for Skipper Kenner, just so he feels
Release the Kraken. Release the Kraken. The Kraken.
Why is the rum always gone?
There you go. That's as close as I'm getting to releasing the Kraken tonight. But then again, the Fireball's a whiskey, and so is Glen.
Quality is our legacy. Handcrafted, barrel aged. Go ahead, you deserve it. Glen Gooley, for the best of times.
Phrasing.
yes.
Anyway, sorry. I just had to get my drunk jokes in.
I read a book about the last days of Krypton.
Oh, yes.
Superman,
That
the
is
novel.
great.
Yeah, that's a
So
good
there
book.
was a couple of novelizations back in the 80s. Late 70s, early 80s. That took the comic book stories and turned them into novelizations. One of them was The Last Days of Krypton. There is I actually have the original comics that was based on, Boomer. Did you know that?
Oh, really? I didn't know. I didn't know it was based on the
It's
comics.
a 6-issue miniseries that lays out the whole story.
General Zod and versus Jor-El. That
Yep,
whole thing.
yep.
Yeah.
And then they turned that into that novelization that you had. I had that as well. There was also, let's see, I'm going to tax my drunken memory. Superman Miracle Monday. That's something to look into. That's another one. And what was interesting about Miracle Monday is they use a cover illustration that was a promotional photograph of Christopher Reeve standing on a building in New York. You've seen these pictures where he's standing on the building and you see all the buildings behind him, and they're like full body shots of Christopher Reeve and whatnot. But Miracle Monday was an interesting story that involved this idea of a scientist. I can't remember the scientist's name. Who got he was doing the whole SETI thing where he's looking for extraterrestrial signals or whatever, and he gets this signal from Jor-El that basically is announcing the arrival of his son. I'm reaching out to whomever the most scientifically advanced person on your planet would be. You would be the perfect person to make sure that my son Kal-El is cared for and this and that. And of course, by the time he gets it and translates the message, Superman is already Superman. Yeah, it's a very interesting story. That story was the very clear adaptation of the Christopher Reeve character, Dr. Kurt Swan, in Smallville. That was,
yeah,
very
the one.
Yeah, see, here I am tying all these
all
different.
comes back to Smallville.
Smallville, but that's because Smallville did what an adaptation like that ought to do. It drew inspiration from what went before, unlike modern adaptations of things that are just their own things and don't give a crap about what went before it. Rings of Power, I'm just saying, but and that's. Well, I mean, even a lot of these DC animated things that we're doing over on Mr. Matchstick's channel, when, I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh, this episode of the Legion of the Superheroes draws directly from this comic book story or from this cartoon or whatever, and it amalgamates these elements into this one character. That's great stuff. That is people that took the time to, look at all of it and go, I'm not leaving any of this out. All of this is good stuff. I'm gonna adult dating site, Nude HD.
Actually, what I always appreciated about Smallville is that they had the
adult dating sites. Yeah, I agree with you.
The cheesy Phantom Zone thing from the 70s movies. I want to call it cheesy. It was cool for the time, but the glass, the reflecting glass, and Clark gets stuck in it like in the old 70s movie.
It was kind of horrifying in a way, wasn't it?
Yes.
That bit where his ship is flying and they're moving through space and they're going, "Don't leave us! Don't leave us!" It's like, oh my God, that's horrifying.
Well, it's a prison.
It was weird and didn't make any sense, but it conveyed the idea behind what it meant to be in the Phantom Zone,
Well, the idea was Krypton didn't have a death penalty, so they stick you in the Phantom Zone, right? That was
and it was did. And they've played on this ever since, this idea that the Phantom Zone is actually a fate worse than death.
Yes.
Yes. It's like, if you just let me die, it would be over. But I am literally living in this limbo without a body
for like hundreds of years, or maybe longer. It's like,
well, for Mon-El, 1,000 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And he wasn't even a villain. He wasn't even a prisoner. A Superboy put him there to save his life.
Right.
Think about that. We'll probably talk about that more on Mr. Matchstick's channel when we get into, season 2 of the Legion. Megan, do you even know what we're talking about when we talk about Mon-El and the Legion of the Superheroes?
No.
Okay.
But it sounds interesting.
The Legion of the Soup, from my understanding, and I'll be blunt, Megan, all of us are noobs at some point. And even with a lot of DC stuff, I'm kind of a noob. Like, my introduction to Legion has been through the cartoons. And basically my impression of them is, in the 31st century, these are the superheroes of the far future.
Yeah.
Like, way after Superman and Batman. Like, and these are like the superheroes way in the future. And it's kind of neat because on this cartoon we're watching, they time travel to the past because they need help. And they figure, let's get help from one of the greatest superheroes of all time, Superman. So they bring Superman into the 31st century, and he's there in the future with them, and it's kind of a neat little cartoon. But
yeah. So just in a nutshell, to give the quick history from your perspective, so Legion of the Superheroes started out, in the 60s and 70s. It started out in the Superman title, where you had 3 heroes from 1,000 years in the future that came back in time to meet Superboy. He was Superboy. And over time, it was such a popular idea that Superboy would go into the future and serve as a member of the Legion of the Superheroes in the future. And then he'd, come back and do his thing. And as the title of the Legion of the Superheroes, branched into its own, Superboy was a regular, contributing character, and then eventually Supergirl too. And there was a lot of that, timey-wiminess and stuff, and the storyline of the Legion had to be constantly rebooted because as current stories would change, it would necessarily change the future. And then when Crisis on Infinite Earths happened, that completely, what were they going to do with the Legion? There was a huge reboot. Well, this is a huge reboot for all of the DC universe, but they didn't know what they were going to do with Legion, and it was a mess. And even for a while, there was this idea that there was no Superboy in the new post-Crisis storyline. So they started out with this idea that all of those stories were related to an alternate universe Superboy. He was like in this pocket universe, but they ended up wrapping up that story. And so then they decided that all of the Superboy and all of the Supergirl storylines were actually going to be retroactively these two other characters. It was going to be Valor and I don't remember what the female characters were, but they were Daxamites. Daxamites are, I don't know if you've encountered them, but they're another alien race that are related to the Kryptonians, kind of like Vulcans and Romulans.
Yeah.
They get the same power under the yellow sun that Kryptonians do, but kryptonite doesn't affect them. Instead, what affects them is lead. Lead is a much more pervasive element in the universe, and it's cumulative.
So you could shoot them with a gun.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Assuming, you're using actual lead, not all bullets use lead.
Right.
Ironically, you try to use a tungsten bullet and it doesn't affect them, but lead, they're dead, and this is what happens to Mon-El. He's a Daxamite in typical 60s, 70s format, one-off story, this alien who comes to Earth with the same powers as Superman, so he must be from Krypton, but he's got amnesia and he can't remember. And so they start to think, well, maybe because he has some artifact that links him to Jor-El, you must be my long-lost brother. We don't know what your actual name is, but we'll call you Mon-El. Until we find out what your actual first name is. Well, it turns out it wasn't Mon-El. It was something else entirely, but he had forgotten, and he couldn't remember that he visited Krypton, and then he came to Earth to check on Superboy to make sure he was okay. But, he got hit by a meteor, and, it jostled him, and he lost his memory, and he comes. But then he's exposed to kryptonite. Excuse me. Yes, Clark exposes him to kryptonite, trying to prove, to see whether or not he's Kryptonian. Oh, he's not affected by kryptonite, but it was not real kryptonite because he couldn't handle it. So it was painted lead, and it did affect him. So he's like, "Oh, you're faking it." No, he wasn't faking it. He's actually allergic to lead, and now he's dying, and it's because of you, Clark. So Clark feels So Clark feels bad about it. And he puts him in the Phantom Zone, and and they actually followed the story up throughout the years. He's trying to find a cure for him. Literally, he's in the Fortress of Solitude. He's got a laboratory where he's constantly trying to find a cure for the Daxamite allergy. To it's a great ongoing story, and he's not able to get out of the Phantom Zone until the 31st century, when the Legion of the Superheroes, Brainiac 5, actually comes up with the cure for him. It's
interesting.
Yeah, see, this is what happens, Megan, when you got a couple of old boomers like me and Boomer and Pops, sharing the lore from all these years ago. It's we'll try not to throw too much at you.
So have you been fairly well received by the whole, I guess, comic community? Have you run into any bad eggs, or they've been mostly nice to you, I guess, as you
everybody's been really welcoming. I was actually worried about coming into this because I was like, I know nothing. I thought people would be like, you don't know anything, what are you doing here? But everybody was actually really, really welcoming and excited to have someone new and then tell you about all the things they're passionate about.
No. That can't be, Megan. Okay. We're all misogynists. Comics gate evil.
I think people get mad when you act like an expert on something that you don't really know much about. That's
Probably,
what happens.
Yeah.
And I think you're upfront that I'm just exploring this stuff new. And like I said, most of us start out that way with all of our interests. We we are the Noob, so it's not
Yeah.
unusual.
Yeah, yeah. No, see, and this is what I think these people on the internet that want to push the victimization, thing and how evil everyone is. They're the ones that come in and talk about gatekeeping and all this kind of stuff. Whereas if you're just genuine and you're not an asshole, I mean, people tend to be pretty positive to you. I mean, I see someone like Megan and she comes in. Do you prefer Megan or Megan Lee?
Megan is fine. Yeah.
Okay. I should have asked that way earlier in the stream. Someone like Megan comes in and like I said, just being able to say, oh, I remember when I felt that way. Oh, this is so exciting. I just want to give her a big hug in a non, creepy kind of,
In a
not
non-Stan
real
way.
figurative kind of way, just so you know. I mean, just let's be clear about that, okay? But especially in these days, stay 6 feet apart, don't breathe the same air, social distancing. Holy crap. This world that we live in today. Oh gosh, I sound like my grandfather. Oh, you kids these days with your social distancing and your masks and your social media and all that. I don't understand. Anyway, so we've, more than 2.5 hours, and you've been at this like all day. You've been like streaming all day, haven't you?
Since 7:30.
Oh my goodness!
Damn, your butt must be sore.
I mean,
I
see. Up in between
I see you doing that. You're doing this all.
Yeah,
man. I kind of understand. Yeah.
And we're
I
past
kind
the
of get
midnight
it.
Mark. Past the midnight mark. Not that I'm.
Do you have anything?
I don't have to
anything
get up
big?
for work, so I don't care. Oh, you
Yeah.
talking to her?
Yeah, that's how Boomer is. I gotta work tomorrow. I gotta cut out right now.
I
No, I don't have to work. I can go all night. No problem. Megan, do you have anything big coming up in the next week that you want to pitch or talk about?
Not really. I just have a regular Sunday recording coming out, and I should probably do like a celebration live stream.
Yeah.
For what, the 500 subs? Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And since you got to set that up and it's going to take a little time, maybe take the time to go in and set up your custom URL and set up your community page and all that kind of stuff. So you could say, yeah, I'm at 500 and look, I'm at Megan Lee or I'm at the Noob Reviews or whatever it is, and check out my community page. I'm desperate. I really want to get to that 500 myself because I keep saying every week, it's really about this community. The community is really what makes this all worth it. So that community tab where, I can chat with everybody on, in between videos.
I thought that was something you had automatically, and it was actually annoying to realize you didn't, because I was like, ugh, all the things
you got to
post.
It's
and like, it would have been. So
this is one of those areas where I'm going to give some credit to YouTube. YouTube gives you a good deal of ability to set up your channel the way you want. So that's why these things aren't automatic. Once you have the ability, you can go in and set up the tab if you want it. They're not forcing it on you. Same thing with the custom URL. If you want it, you can go and set it up, but it doesn't automatically, because then they would be choosing the URL for you. For you, it would automatically be at the Noob Review. And if that's not what you wanted, you're stuck with it, So I give them that kind of credit, Yeah, and see, your fans are agreeing with me. Community tab will be fun. A new feature for you, Megan. Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
They're saying. So, do you have any other guest appearances coming up in the next week or so?
No. Pops and I have been trying to, because we try and do a live stream once a month.
Yeah.
And stuff has just been coming up for both of us. We haven't got that, so that's trying to get that together.
Pops is good people. Listen to him, but at the same time, don't be afraid to say, "Pops, I like what I like. Back off."
I take everybody's into account. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, sounds fun. And then
just don't get overwhelmed by it all, because it could be. I mean, you're getting like a tsunami, You know, I swear the same thing happens to me whenever I say something about, I really should get into this anime stuff. I don't know anything about it. And then I got Boomer and Mr. Matchstick and everybody just, you got to check this out and check this out. No, now I don't want to. Forget it. I'm not, no. Come on. You know what I'm saying is true.
Whatever. You know what?
Yeah, whatever.
I'm done with the whole. Never mind. That's a conversation for another time.
Anime is a whole other world.
It's funny. You remind me. I don't know how old you are, but I know that when I was out of high school, I didn't get into anime until I was really out of high school. I was not into it growing up. I was kind of this weird thing. I don't know if I get into that, and I kind of see. Maybe that's
let her ease into the comics, the American comics proper before you start pushing around the manga.
You have to enjoy all things all at once and everything.
All at once, you must absorb it all at once. Yes. Like a massive download. No,
I've had people request that I do manga reviews.
Watch manga, read manga when you want to read it. Don't read it.
Actually, that would probably be a good cosplay for you too, Alita Battle Angel.
Oh yeah.
See, even Netter's like, oh yeah, right. You do. You go check out a few of those YouTube tutorials on makeup on how to do your eye makeup so it looks like you got these huge ass eyes. But anyway, so coming week for us. Tomorrow night over on Big Al Presents, we will be doing a rewatch of a classic, raunchy 80s comedy, Porky's. I'm looking forward to that. That's back when 80s comedy meant lots of boobs. That's BEWBS, boobs.
Bob Clark, he directed A Christmas Story.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Good point. Are you going to be there for that, Boomer?
No, I'm probably not going to be able to make it, but I told Al if that changes, I'll just show up, but I don't think I'll be able to make it.
But own it on physical media, because
I have it on Blu-ray.
There you go. See,
you know what else Bob Clark directed? He directed Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. Ever see that one?
Never even heard of it, but now I'm interested.
That may be, I don't know. If I do a Halloween watch this year again, maybe I'll pick that one.
That sounds interesting. I'm going to have to look into that one.
Okay.
So that's Saturday night. Sunday night, over on this guy's channel, what are we doing?
Geeky Geezers. This is a weird week because the news was off. I'm like, it was yesterday, Thursday. I'm like, is there any news this week?
There was like 3 or 4 things I was going to drop on you, and I'm like...
You could have.
I could have, but I was like, I don't want to cover this. If he doesn't bring it up, I'm not bringing it up.
Whoa, okay.
Just stuff that was like... I was really stretching for stuff. I'm like, this is not
spitting on Olivia Wilde's husband or some other nonsense that I don't want to cover. I'm just not.
Yeah, exactly. It was a weak news week, but the stuff that we have,
it's pretty good.
I got some things to say about it. Yeah.
Well, the Bob Iger one is interesting. His interview recently, I do want to talk about that. On the future of streaming, I thought that was kind of relevant to what we're talking about. So
and my thumbnail, it's clickbaity.
Okay, I got you.
What's her name again?
Anna de Armas,
yeah.
Yes,
she's in The Pose.
Marilyn Monroe.
Megan, you know what The Pose is? It goes back to that conversation that you were having at the end of the other stream. I shouldn't tell her to do this. This is a bad...
What?
Google up The Pose or hashtag The Pose on Twitter.
Okay.
And just be careful. Not safe for work.
Oh my word.
It should be safe for work, but you might end up getting some things that aren't safe for work, is what I'm saying.
For poop's sake.
Now Netta's gonna look because now she's curious.
No, the stupid bots.
Oh, did bots pop up?
They've been popping up.
I mentioned The Pose and the bots pop up.
Yeah, it's your fault.
Yes, it's my. No, it's not. It's Megan's fault. It's been all about Megan tonight. Yeah, so I put the clickbait picture in the thumbnail for tomorrow. So watch Boomer for your stats to go way up on Sunday night stream, just because people are going to see what that's all about.
Yeah, check out our channel.
I'll tell you, when I did that one with for Howard the Duck.
Yeah,
that thumbnail brought in a lot of
And I did that as a standalone clip. You want to check out
Yup.
our conversation with Howard the Duck?
Didn't you say it was like the best?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will if I have time
Clickbait thumbnails. That's the way to go. See, and not that I'm suggesting this. I'm just saying it's a possibility. If this was the way you wanted to brand, you want to combine your modeling and your YouTubing. You know, a pretty pose as a thumbnail will get the people clicking on it. Just saying, you know.
He's probably right there.
No, it's not. I'm not suggesting. I'm just saying it's a possibility. Let's see, Sunday, Monday. This week on Tuesday on Mr. Matchstick's channel.
They have CF episode 25, the end of Culture Fortress.
Yes. This is going to be the last Culture
right
Fortress, at
before
least for a while. What are you doing, Aged Boomer?
For what, Culture Fortress?
Yeah.
I'm doing Konami classic game collections available on modern consoles, like including the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection that recently got released.
Yep.
I was actually very impressed with what they did because I loved the new one they did. Actually, it wasn't Konami, but they made a new Turtles game, Shredder's Revenge. But this one, the collection is also very good, and I want to bring that up. And I'm going to talk about the Castlevania collections and the Contra collection.
So Mr. Matchstick sends me
old school games. Yes.
Mr. Matchstick sends us a note. What are you doing for Culture Fortress on Tuesday? And I'm like, have I done one on the Friday the 13th, the series? And I think that's all I said. And he's like, there was a Friday the 13th, the series?
Yes, there was. I remember it.
And I was like, don't be confused. We're not talking like Freddy's Nightmare, where it's all about Nightmare on Elm Street. It's completely disjointed. It has nothing to do with Jason Voorhees or anything like that. His response, there was a Nightmare on Elm Street series. Like, oh, dude. I said, okay, man. We'll get into that on Tuesday. I'll
talk about both. You're gonna do a double feature?
No, but I will probably mention Freddy's Nightmares just to kind of, set that kind of framing for him. And Megan's doing the same thing. She's like, I don't know anything about this, but Tuesday night, Culture Fortress. Watch, we'll fill you in on some of these cultural things.
I have seen some Nightmare on Elm Street.
The movies?
The movies. Did you know there was a series on TV though?
Oh,
Freddy's Nightmares.
No.
To be fair, I never watched it either. I knew of it though.
It was probably a little before your time, and it's not well known outside of the 80s cable,
Plus, she was in Canada. Did the Canada even get it?
That's a good point. Okay. They may or may not have. There were some things that they got in Canada more easily than some places here in the U.S. because of the way cable licensing worked. They picked it up on a sci-fi channel or something that they had there that we didn't even have yet. Whereas sometimes they didn't get things at all, kind of like some of the woes that we went through trying to watch Doctor Who over here and stuff like that. So,
right.
Yeah. But anyway, I'll talk about Friday the 13th, the series. And, so that's Tuesday. Anything on soundtracks with Birdman on Wednesday, Aged Boomer?
No, he can't do a stream this week. He's having kind of a...
Let's not get too personal. He's got something going on and he
can't
do it.
Personal. It's not. I just keep
okay.
Your prayers. Nothing. Someone close to him. That's all I'm going to say. I shouldn't probably.
Fair enough. Yeah. Maybe stop by some of Mr. Matchstick's too. Why not? But stop by Soundtracks with Birdman's stream. Hit the like and subscribe. Maybe
he
drop
does
a
the
few
show
encouraging
on Mondays
comments.
Too. He does a show on Mondays as well. The Batman show, which may or may not be about Batman, but it's worth checking out.
There you go.
Yeah, it's funny. Because like Noob Reviews, like I thought I was into soundtracks, and then I met Birdman and his friends, and like, oh, they're really into soundtracks.
Yeah, yeah, they know the guy that played first trombone in the orchestra on the it's like okay, I didn't even know who orchestrated that piece, but okay, no problem.
Exactly.
That's
and that's the other thing. He's more into the orchestral soundtracks. I'm more into the pop soundtracks. And
Yeah, fine.
I feel like he tends to look down his nose at those kinds of soundtracks.
I'm fine with them myself, but I keep
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
one day we're gonna have to do a soundtrack movie.
Right, we're gonna have to do like St. Elmo's Fire, or something like that. About Last Night. Well, we've done About Last Night rewatch on my channel. Great soundtrack. Oh, I love that soundtrack.
Last American Virgin, that soundtrack.
Eddie and the Cruisers.
Eddie and the
Oh.
Cruisers. Yeah.
Come on, Dark Side. That was just all over the radio. And Megan's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but she should be taking notes. She should be taking notes.
Okay.
You're gonna end up, because people are gonna think you're an old soul because you're gonna know all this 70s and 80s pop cultural stuff. You'll be like, how do you know this stuff? You weren't even alive back then. You're like, I know good pop culture. That brings us back to next Friday with I'm going to have Andy Masters. He is those of you that follow the bigger channels like Doomcock and Gary over at Nerdrotic and stuff, his work. He's doing custom action figures of those guys. So he's the one that did the Doomcock action figure. He did one for Gary at Nerdrotic and Heel versus Babyface and whatnot. He does videos where he's actually showing himself sculpting these 1/12 scale heads for these action figures, these G.I. Joe scale. I call them G.I. Joe because back in the 70s, G.I. Joe was a 12-inch figure. He wasn't this little 3 3/4 inch, Scarlet figure with a laser gun. It was, it was Vietnam era, But he'll be my guest, and he'll be showing off some of his custom figures. I'll be showing off some of mine that I've literally been holding off doing videos on, specifically waiting for his stream. So, and then that brings us to we're going to go a week and a day to the following Saturday over on Netter's Network, where she has a very special watch party. Tell us about it, Netter.
Okay, that means I gotta go over to you so people can actually hear me.
Instead of talking across the room, that's fine.
Yes. So the movie that we will be watching is called Book of Life. And I have two very special guest hosts, aside from my usual special guest hosts of Troy and Big Al. I am going to have Polly, the Latino slant, and Mikey, the Mexican Ironman, as my guest host for that night. And it comes right after the celebration of Mexican Independence Day, so it's a perfect time to show the movie. I hope you'll all join us. You're going to hear some cultural references on the film, and different meanings about how the how do you pronounce it? Because Muertos
Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah,
and you'll get some good Latino culture directly from Latino Slant and Mexican Iron Man, rather than the way the Wocosos are talking about representation, and their representation is a character on a comic book holding tacos. That's go a little bit deeper than that. So
I am super excited to have these really big YouTubers guest hosting on my tiny little show.
Yep. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
So, last words, Megan, anything you wanted to say before we end the stream?
No. I learned a lot.
That's fair. Did you enjoy hanging out with us?
Hanging
out with a drunk host and his aged boomer designated driver? I hope I didn't say anything too embarrassing tonight.
No.
And aged boomer, any last words from you?
Nothing. I am curious about that soup, that Lois Lane on the cover. That might be a little overweight. I guess
you're looking
Superman
forward to
yelling
that
at her,
video,
they
Megan.
put down the cake, Lois.
That is the kind of thing that Superman back in the late 60s and early 70s would have said, right? That's exactly right.
It'd be kryptonite frosting. I don't know.
And Netter, last words?
Making me get up again.
Making you get up again. You should have known this was coming.
Yeah. Well, as I always say, we can talk amongst ourselves, and that's all well and good, and it's a lot of fun, but it's so much more fun when you guys are joining us. You're dropping comments in the chat, trivia, asking questions, things like that, and just, really being there with us, being a part of our evening. Because you're not just friends for us, you're family too. We love you guys and we appreciate you being here. See you next time.
Yep. And it's, what she just said is exactly what I say too. It's become for me so much more the community. And that's why I really do want to get to the 500 point just so I can have that community tab and give us all a place to communicate. Yeah, I've got the MeWe group for those of you that are on MeWe. And I've got the Discord too. And I really should probably put those links in the descriptions going forward. I'll try to remember that. But, I think I really need that the community tab. So those of you that were new tonight, that came here because you were following Megan, you simps, you. I hope you will still hit the subscribe button. It'll help me out, and I hope you come back again in the future because I see a lot of the same people in the community, and I'll be having them on going forward. And I think you'll enjoy what I've got to offer going forward because it's not about me. It's about all of you guys. And if you've got a YouTube channel that you want to promote and you'd be willing to come on my channel and do what Megan did tonight and hang out with a drunk guy and his designated driver, come on. Just send me, an instant message or direct message or whatever you kids call it these days. Reach out to me. Yeah, reach out to me and we'll make that happen. Okay. Thanks everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for putting up with my fireball ramblings and hope to catch you on the next one. Take care.
Good night, ladies.
Good night, sir.
Hit it, sweetheart.